Introducing Christopher Nolan's Interstellar Corn, the out-of-this-world flavor adventure. Are you ready to embark on an extraordinary gastronomic journey? Look no further. We present to you the one-of-a-kind corn cultivated by none other than acclaimed director Christopher Nolan himself. Grown in the fertile fields of Canada, imagine cornfields stretching towards the horizon, bathed in the light of distant stars. This is where Christopher Nolan's Interstellar Corn thrives. Cultivated with passion and precision in the heart of Canada, this corn has absorbed the essence of cosmic inspiration. Indulge your taste buds with kernels bursting with flavor, as if kissed by stardust. Christopher Nolan's Interstellar Corn offers a sublime sweetness that's simply unmatched, coupled with a buttery richness that will leave you longing for more. Each bite will take you on a voyage through the cosmos of taste. This celestial treat is an extraordinary rarity, available for a limited time only. Just like the mysteries of the universe, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar Corn is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you wouldn't want to miss. By indulging in this exceptional corn, you become part of the cinematic magic that has captivated audiences worldwide. Experience the taste that has fueled intergalactic voyages and epic adventures. With each purchase, you contribute to Christopher Nolan's passion for sustainable agriculture. Your support helps us continue our journey towards a greener and more environmentally conscious future. Hurry and get your limited edition package today and let your taste buds take flight on an intergalactic odyssey. Note, this advertisement is a fictitious creation and not associated with any real-world products or projects by Christopher Nolan.
They blast off into space. So if we're doing a two-parter, this is the part two is space. Just like part one of Superman was before he became Superman. They use a cool camera style here because they are using the way that NASA would show us stuff from space, where it's just like, yeah, the camera's just like on the outside, like it's just there.
They have it like attached.
Hoyt van Hoytema, the director of cinematography, so he had to learn how to like use IMAX in like these small spaces because they literally like built the Ranger kind of thing and stuff like that. So it's interesting how much detail goes into the spaces of like, oh yeah, we needed to make it so that there's storage everywhere on this ship and the spacesuits look this way, and all of the stuff inside the Ranger looks kind of old because there's no funding, so they just have to like use all the old stuff. So it's like patchwork. There. And all I think is like, okay, I'm glad that I watched the behind the scenes before the movie, because now I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, like look at all the detail that did go into this. But if you're just watching it and you don't think about that stuff, it's like, is it worth it or not? But I've also had this conversation with somebody where I was like, man, we went, because when you and I went to the Marvel exhibit at the museum, because it was traveling across the country, and we went to the one part of the exhibit that was like the costumes, and I remember like the Black Panther costumes and the Doctor Strange costumes,
detailing
all had these super details.
It's beautiful,
and it's like
beautiful detailing. Do
you see that on screen or not? But somebody
if you didn't have
said,
it, would have looked bad.
If you didn't have that detail, it would look really bad.
I agree.
So even though you might not be able to see it, it tricks your brain into thinking it's real because they have to put that much thought into it. So anyway, I liked that the camera was on the outside because it gives you that realistic look of like the breaking off of the spaceship and them kind of flying away from Earth. We learned that TARS has a humor setting.
Yes.
He's set for 100% humor setting, so he's set to be, like, super, super sarcastic.
Yes.
And Cooper was like, let's bring that down to 75%. He's like, let's tone it down a little bit. This is the first, like, sci-fi part of the technology with the Ranger, because it's, like, the first thing you could have said, it was like, it's like a space shuttle. But this Ranger is more like a fast-moving, kind of smaller shuttle, like spaceship.
It's supposed to go a lot faster than the other ships that we are used to.
Yeah, and it's just like a smaller, it almost looks kind of like a speedboat. Like it's like this kind of,
Yeah.
it's like a small version of a spaceship. It's like a sports car version.
It's the sports car of
Yeah,
spaceships.
that's right. It is the sports car of spaceships. Cooper is trying to bond with the crew because he's like the astronaut that's like had a crew before, right? So
Right.
you got Doyle, who is Seneca Crane. You have Amelia Brand, Anna Hathaway, and then you have Romilly, who is one of the other scientists that was there.
Yes. He was explaining a lot of the stuff during that
He understands like the black holes and shit.
scene.
I think
Right.
it's like is like what he's there for. He seems less about the exploration. He wants to do more of like the research.
He just
'Cause
wants to analyze.
He freaks out a few times.
Oh my god, he does.
Or is trying not to freak out.
Look, but he's like the person that you can feel with, like you
Yeah,
freak out
absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
All right, there's no way you'd get up there and not
Absolutely.
freak out.
Yeah. Brand is doing something and Cooper is trying to bond with them. So Cooper's like, it must be hard to like leave your dad and all that kind of stuff. And Brand is like, sometimes it's best to learn when to talk and when not to talk. Cooper's like, well, I'm just trying to be honest. Like, we're going to spend the rest of our lives practically together now. We have to kind of like learn to trust each other, learn to be honest with each other. And she's like, no, that's not how it goes. Like, sometimes there's times not to be honest. And Cooper, of course, is like, Tars, what is your honesty setting at? And Tars says 90%.
90%.
McConaughey's like, 90%? And Tars is like, well, sometimes it's best not to always be honest with emotional beings. Like, sometimes you have to kind of lie so that they don't get upset.
Such an AI kind of like
Yeah.
thing to say.
I really enjoy the character of Tars.
I love
It's a
the
fun
robots. I
character.
love robots in sci-fi. It's great.
I'm going to try to figure out a way to draft him in the fantasy draft.
Don't you
I don't know
dare.
what...
I want Tars. Well, I guess I
folks,
could take Case. Case is pretty cool.
I like
Except he like
Case, too.
Tars
Yeah.
annoys Case, which is funny.
Tars annoys Case, yes. Got that one point where, like, I can't remember what Cooper asked Case, but Case is like, yep,
Yes.
or like, yep, we're good. And
Yeah.
and Cooper's like, you don't talk very much, do you, Case? And Case
Tars
goes,
talks
Tars
enough
talks
for
enough
both
for
of
both of
us."
us.
I love that. It's so good.
So we get the docking sequence. So it's this extended sequence. There's not a lot of dialogue, where it's just trying to show you that the most simple thing that you can think of for space, which is just they're going to dock the Ranger to the, what's it called? The Endurance.
Right.
So that they can go onto the space station. And they're going to travel with the Endurance.
Yes.
The Endurance is going to be their ride. But there's this long sequence of just them being really tense about trying to dock this thing.
Well, I would imagine it's hard.
No, that's my point. Like, it's supposed to be like realistic, because like in a Star Trek movie or Star Wars or whatever, they'd just be like and like dock the
Yeah,
and it would
they
just
would
kind of
land
come
on
together.
something. It's like that's not how it works.
This is supposed to be like realistic, where it's if they fuck this up, the mission's like compromised because
Right.
they're just gonna like and like grind the aluminum and we're fucked.
Ah, crap! We scratched it.
Ah, god damn it. Well, that's the end for us.
Well, because honestly, with the thing though, it does have to grip and it has to airlock seal, so it can't let any air out or any of the space in. I guess because there's no air in space, so it's just like you can't let that vacuum seal break. It has to work well. It has to be perfect.
And it comes back later in the movie a couple of times. So there's this long extended sequence where they're docking the ship. The score does a lot of heavy lifting here.
Yes.
It's a lot of chorus where it's like, ha, 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 ha.
It's true.
Because
That's very
it's supposed
true.
to be like ethereal, like again, like you're losing
It's
your
almost
breath
like
kind
you're
of
breathing
thing.
with it. Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you're breathing with it, and when you're nervous, your breath gets faster. So I feel like that's kind of forcing you to feel that.
Yep. And there's miniatures all over the place, so they're using and you can tell it's real. You can tell it's real. Your eyes can see that this thing exists. It's not CGI. Because it looks like a thing is clamping onto another thing.
It's a thing going clink, 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 with like its little pincer, like...
Yes, with pincers. So they make it into the station. They're all relieved that they're able to do this. They're all like, okay, step 1, done. We've made it on to the Endurance. I like that it's meant to look kind of janky. And what they decide to do...
Oh, because it's been up there forever.
Yeah. What they're supposed to do...
Yes.
And this must be another, like, science thing, is they want it to float towards Saturn.
Yes.
And they need to start spinning it to get it to float in a certain direction. They have to cause a force
to make it move in the opposite direction.
Because it's orbiting Earth right now, so they need to...
They need to get out of the orbit, and they need to make a force that causes it to go into into the other direction.
Newton's law.
That's the one I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Tars turns on Case. And I like that there's a little meeting where he's like, hey, Case. And Case is like, hi, Tars.
So cute. I love it.
And then they need to get ready to spin to head to Saturn. The music here is 2001-like. I thought it sounded like the score from 2001 a little bit. When they're getting ready to start. You know, that like classical, like that, you know. Mm-hmm. I very much like the score that Hans Zimmer made here.
Oh, it's really pretty.
The thing starts to spin, and they're like, we're going to need some Dramamine. Because Romley is like, is it going to do this the whole time? Because, like, even if your body can't tell... Yeah, it's the G's. Like, even if you can't tell what side's up anymore...
Well, that's your body's trying to understand what's happening.
Right.
And
if
that's
you're looking
when
out
you
a
get
window,
nauseous.
Yeah. It's going to take 2 years to get to Saturn, and they're like, it's going to be a lot of Dramamine. So... what they're allowed to do is they all give like a little message back to home because we've got that established, which is true. I think we can send messages back and forth from that distance. It just takes time.
It takes time.
This is where you get the poem, Rachel. Because he tells them the poem.
Yep.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end, no dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
So he tells them that, and they prepare to go to sleep until they get to Saturn. Got a fade to black here. As the did you notice that there's kind of a fade to black?
I didn't really notice fade to black.
After Michael Caine says the poem, it kind of fades from black to show you that they're prepping for sleep at this point.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Cooper's watching the Earth spin before he goes to bed. Brand and Cooper bond a little bit. She says that the first planet they're going to go to is Miller, because it's the first one after the wormhole, and then Edmonds, and then Mann. And Cooper gets a little bit more information. So he's like, so none of the 12 had any families. And she's like, nope, they couldn't because they'd have too much connection to not want to leave to do it.
Hard. Yeah.
She's like, they knew the odds. They knew that none of them would ever see a person again. This whole time we're told that they were all led. So like the leader of the Lazarus mission was Dr. Mann. And Mann led them all. He convinced them all to go. He convinced them that this was like the right thing to do.
Right. That's the good for mankind type of thing.
Yes. Cooper picks up on something, and I can't tell how he was able to pick up on this, because...
Yeah, I didn't know if I missed a line or something here.
Or some reaction that she had about Wolf Edmonds, who is the second planet that they plan to go to. Because Brand starts going to bed, and Cooper wants to spend some more time awake, because he goes and he gives the message to the farm. He asked Tars, because he's like, hey, Tars, were Edmonds and Brand close? I like this little woman, because Tars is like, why are you whispering?
None of them can hear us. That's why I love his personality. I'm glad they gave him that personality.
And Tars is like, I wouldn't know. Like, I don't know anything about I don't know what you're talking about. He won't answer in the affirmative, and Cooper's like, Yeah, you don't have a good poker face. Like, you're only 90% honest. This is part of you're not being honest. Yeah.
The way you have to say something, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there is talk of, like, you know, nature being evil, or like, and all of that kind of stuff happening here too.
Before they go to sleep?
Yes.
Oh, I think there is. Yeah. What is any of that? Is any of that something to talk about? Because I did not write any of that down.
She's talking about facing great odds and facing, like, death, but not facing evil. You face death, but you don't face evil, right? And he says, so you don't believe in evil.
Oh, yeah, but
it's like,
nature can be evil.
She goes, no, it's formidable, but not evil, you know?
Right.
And I don't know, I just kind of liked that little conversation. I thought it was an interesting take, and I kind of agree with it. I think it makes sense that nature itself can't be evil.
That it's formidable.
Right. It's powerful, it's formidable, but it can't actually be evil itself.
Well, and it makes sense for someone that has seen what Cooper has seen in his life to kind of think, like, nature's against us. Like, humanity's...
It feels like person versus the environment. This environment is coming against us on purpose.
Yeah. It's trying to get rid of us.
Right.
Which it probably
is.
Yeah.
I gotta get rid of these humans on my planet. It's destroyed.
Oh, God. Earth is only thinking about that.
Earth is pissed.
It keeps fucking trying. It keeps trying.
One of these days.
It keeps trying to go, one of these days it's going to figure it out. Because it just keeps going, I gotta get rid of these
I got
fucking
rid of the dinosaurs.
Humans.
I'm gonna get rid of these humans next.
They are awful. It's the George Carlin joke. Where he's like, all we ever hear about is we have to save the planet, we have to save the planet. And he's like, the planet will be fine.
Yes.
People are fucked.
That's right.
So they wake back up. It's been a couple of years.
Well, you're skipping. They bring the Jeep back, or the truck back. I don't know if you wanted to do that part first.
Oh, I guess you can kind of say what happens.
Do you want to go back and forth, or no? I mean, we don't have to if we want to skip
can mention
stuff.
Dr. Brand brings the truck back to the farm, and he says that Murph is kind of, like, known to be smart. Like, he could even, you know, like, when he
wants to mentor
Cooper.
her.
Yeah, so he wants to, like, mentor her. So she's getting an internship at NASA.
Pretty much. And I think he's replacing his daughter because she left.
Yes, I think that's part of it for sure. I think that part of it is that he feels bad that Cooper left.
Also that.
Because all the rest of them had no family.
Right, and so he has a family.
And so it is, like, Cooper had a family, I had a family. Now, like, we're each other's family because we sent them off. And he needs help solving this equation, and if she's as smart as Cooper says she is, maybe we can train her to help figure this out. Now they wake up.
Yes.
We're getting a little bit more of just, like, the crew and their life as they travel towards Saturn, because they spent time in a deep sleep, which a lot of the characters do. Romley is sitting there, and he's, like, unnerved a bit. It would be interesting to see somebody get, like, space madness in this movie, but I think that'd be too much, because, like, you're supposed to, like, show them as, like, all brave.
Like I said, I think he's supposed to be the one that you're going to...
Yeah, you understand.
Feel for and understand.
You understand what he says here, too, because he says all that's protecting them, all that's between them and millions of miles of nothing is this thin layer of aluminum. And Cooper says...
They get to listen to the videos and stuff, too, from their families. And so when Cooper, like, was watching the video, like, it's only his dad. Probably his son, too, but Murph won't talk to him.
Yeah, Murph won't talk to him.
Like, pisses me off. Like, I feel like his dad should have forced her and said, you don't get to talk to him for 2 years. Talk to him right now. And you can yell at him all you want. Like... You're not going to hear from him for 2 years.
But they don't know how long they're not going to talk to or hear from him.
I thought it said 2 years to Saturn.
It was 2 years to Saturn, but like when that message was sent, because that message could have been sent anytime within that 2 years. Yeah.
I think that's why he came there too. Was here? It's like if you record something, I'll send it. I figured it was like that same week or something. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was within that time period.
Well, because they could send messages anytime they wanted during that 2 years to just keep them up to date. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So at some point during those 2 years, she should have kind of said,
like, lay it into him, yell at him.
I'm not happy. Yeah, that she had left or whatever.
Yes.
You don't want her being able to send that though. Because then that's just going to make him feel like he's doing the wrong thing.
But she's talking to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is I guess this is a personality thing. I don't know what I would. Folks at home, let us know. Would you rather her be mad at you but talking to you, or
Well, because
shunning
then
you?
I mean, I
guess.
feel like you still know she loves you if she's talking to you. Like, I hate you.
I
I'm
think
mad at you.
I think he knows that anyway. He just didn't want to leave on bad terms with her. He didn't want to
guess.
leave with that being like the
Fine.
last memory. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Anyways, back to Rom when he's talking to Rom.
Fucking Rob.
Rob's
so
cool. Rob's cool.
Cooper says that they're explorers, and he gives them this parable about yachtsmen that don't know how to swim, and if they fall off the boat, they're done. You get kind of a sense of how Cooper's keeping calm because he has an iPod or something.
Yes.
That has
He's
storm
listening to
sounds.
nature
Yeah.
that you're not going to get anywhere else. That
does you can tell that does calm Romley down.
Oh,
He's
yes.
like he has a satisfied like this pleases me.
I do love
Definitely.
listening to rain, so I agree with this. He's like, huh, yes, I can deal with this.
Rom asks if they can stop the spinning because they're close enough to the wormhole now that they don't have to keep
It's
spinning.
the way he asks, though.
Yeah.
Can we stop the spinning?
Stop
Look, we're
the
close
spinning,
enough.
Please stop the spinning. And now we learn how a wormhole could look to the human eye.
Yes. It's the typical...
So the movie Event Horizon is from 1995. It stars Sam Neill. Event Horizon does the exact same thing to explain how
everybody
wormhole works.
everybody explains it the same way. So the typical explanation of a wormhole is folding a paper in half, right? You want to go from one point of that paper to the other point of the paper, and if you fold it in half, those 2 points will touch. And then you jab a pencil through that where that hole is, and now you can get from one point to the other right away instead of the slow way, right?
Yep.
That's the whole idea. Well, when you jab that hole into the paper, it's round, right? And in 2D, it's flat and it's a circle. But in real life, it would be 3D, and a 3D circle is a sphere.
Everybody get that?
But like when you look at it, and I love the way it looks in the movie, just because it looks spherical, it looks convex, and it looks concave at the same time, and it's very weird. So it looks like you're seeing the inside, and it's like a bowl, and then sometimes it looks like a ball, and it's just the weirdest thing.
The whole visuals of the wormhole are really sweet. Like it's trippy to look at. It's great background wallpaper. It's a great looking visual effect for sure.
Yeah.
The way that Kip Thorne explains it in the behind the scenes, because you know where it got the term wormhole came from, Rachel?
Where'd it come from?
Literally. So he explained it using an apple. Same idea, because he's like, a worm wants to get from one side of the apple to the other side of the apple. It doesn't go around the apple. It goes through the apple.
Right.
It makes a literal wormhole.
Yep.
So, wormhole. And that's why it's round. That's how you can explain it as being round, because the apple is a sphere. Same exact explanation,
idea.
But that's why it's called a wormhole.
Exactly.
They get closer to the wormhole, and space begins to curve. So you get all these curves and stuff, and things start to go at like 90-degree angles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literal warps and time warps, and that's why it's called warp speed and all that kind of shit, because it's literally warping space around you.
Yes.
A lot of 2001 Space Odyssey colors and shit, and like the stars and stuff start to like spray out at them and stretch.
Yeah, and they
all
look
that
like
kind of stuff.
Swirling and moving, and
it's hard to explain, but like it's very cool.
It's hard to explain because if it was real and we were actually looking at a wormhole, it would be so hard to conceive.
Your face would melt like in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Your eyes would bulge out like in the end of Total Recall. I looked at the wormhole. Oh my god. Now that would have been the movie. That would have been the thing. He wouldn't have been the governor at that point. You could have Steven Spielberg, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
yeah,
as Joseph Cooper.
Yeah, that's
there you go.
True.
Yeah,
it's Arnold. Well, the weirder thing is, too, that when you look at the wormhole, you can see the opposite galaxy that you're going to in it.
Yes. Well, because the whole thing is they're able to, they said,
it's
when
connecting
the
the galaxies
turns, they get messages from the other side.
Yes, and you can get different views of everything, too.
Yeah.
So weird. I don't know, I find it cool.
Yeah. It is. It's neat. It's very science fiction-y because, of course, we don't think a wormhole actually exists, but you could, in theory, make one.
Theoretically.
You, in theory, could make one if you could figure out how to manipulate gravity. So they start going through the wormhole, and they're like, what happens when we go through this? And they're all like, we don't know, because
none of us have gone
we don't know
it yet.
Yeah. So
this is all new to us.
As they go through and stuff is like all distorting around them, Bran thinks that she's like a true believer of like these beings that are helping them.
Yeah. These others who are bigger beings than us and can conceive time as a thing.
As a fifth dimension.
Yes.
Time is the fourth dimension, but they see a fifth dimension.
Fifth-dimensional beings. So we can't perceive them because of the dimension.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're higher, they're more enlightened beings or something
also
like that.
And that's why they can create wormholes.
Right. So Brand thinks she sees them, and she goes to touch something.
It's like a ripple comes into the ship.
Yeah. I don't understand why Romley was like, don't touch it. Like, what he thought.
Because we don't know what it is.
Or
so
like
she could have gotten sucked into it. It could have like ripped
the ship could have broken
off.
apart. Yeah.
We don't know what would have happened.
Right.
It's Romley's being intelligent and going, don't touch it.
Think about what could have came out of this, like, hole. It's like in Poltergeist going in that closet.
Yeah, she's just pulling ghosts out of the thin air at that point. We don't know. It could have been a monster. Thing probably wants to eat her.
That'd have been a different kind of movie, but that also would have been fun.
Yeah.
They float through to the other side, and they end up in this new galaxy. So it's really intergalactic, but here we go. So they decide. They have to make a decision here. Now they're in another galaxy. They made it through the wormhole. Have no fucking clue where they are, except the other side of this wormhole.
Right.
The first planet they were going to go to was the Miller planet. However, what they learn is that it is really close to Gargantua, which is the name of the black hole. A fine name for a black hole, but it sounds like a Godzilla villain.
It does sound like a Godzilla villain.
Gargantua! Or a wrestler, I guess.
Here's my other problem with this. You just said there's a black hole. Why in the hell are we going to that planet at all? There's a black hole right there. It's just going to eat the planet at some point.
Potentially. If it's far enough away from the black hole, though, it doesn't suck into the black hole, but as the black hole expands, like, maybe eventually. But okay. All right, but hold on, Rachel. We just need to find a planet sustainable. There's a wormhole, and it's the only option, and there's viable planets. We get on that planet, a few thousand years pass, black hole starts to expand, we gotta find a new planet. By that time,
at that point, they know
we've already learned how to bend time and space.
Fine. So... Whatever. It just seems really silly that they're just like, well, the first planet we're gonna go to is the one that's by the giant black hole. And it's like, why? Why?
This is House Hunters, right? They gave you 3 planets to choose from. We have a budget.
Apparently.
And we had a starter planet was Earth. Yeah. We're looking to upgrade.
We're butterfly catchers. We're trying to find the most expensive
bedrooms. Yeah. A short commute would be ideal. Preferably
I guess
something
that is the one that
city.
comes right out by the wormhole, too.
So this is the first...
Fine.
Yeah. So the enlightened beings are like, well, I can show you the first planet. It's got a short commute to the downtown area. The drawbacks are it's close to the black hole and time is really fucked up.
Really screwed up.
So what they learn is that landing here takes them into the gravitational pull of Gargantua because it's so close. And they calculate out that gravity on the planet makes it 7 years back on Earth. An hour.
An hour.
On the planet is 7 years back on Earth.
1 hour.
Well, that's relativity.
I know, but it's just hard to...
I can't
it's such
wrap
a
my head
concept.
around it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so hard to understand. And I am too stupid to understand it. So it makes me angry. So they have to figure out how to not do this. Because especially Cooper is like, no. I'm not going to spend 7 years in Earth time on this damn planet. So his first thought is that they're going to float around a neutron star or something instead. And they could, like, get a signal in there that could then bounce back. But they wouldn't get... Here's my problem with that theory. Wouldn't they not get a bounce back for, like, a year at least? Like, they're going to waste time. They're losing at least a few years, no matter what they do.
Sure,
right?
But I
Because
think his idea is that we'll just send a signal in, we'll go to the other planets.
Oh,
and then
we'll like, come
we'll get
back.
it eventually. Yes.
Okay.
I
probably
don't...
was...
Yeah, I don't
That's
think they're just
probably
gonna
what they
hover.
should have done. They should have gone to the other planets first.
I don't understand why they chose this one first. It just seems really silly to be like, this is the planet that's going to take the most time away from us. Let's go there first. Why? Go to the other planets first.
Yeah, that does seem flawed. Did we miss something in what they were saying? Or folks at home are like, why did they decide to go here first? Is it because it got the most pings? Because it was like the most like sustained message coming back was from this planet?
I think it was.
Because that's a very good point. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, so here's what Seneca tells me, and I don't know his real name in the movie. Doyle. He says that Dr. Mann's planet, okay, his data is like the most promising, but it's going to take months to get over to his planet.
Right.
And Edmund's is even further away than Mann's. So, like, all of these other planets are all further away than this one, which was, like, right by the wormhole. But once you realize is actually very promising because of, like, the water and the organics and everything.
Oh, because it has water.
It does have good resources on it. And it's like, okay, these things together, you aren't going to find in a lot of places. So I think they like the details that she sent.
Right. But were they still planning to go to the other planets? Yes. Even if... Let's say this is a success.
Mm-hmm.
They go down there. Miller's planet works. It has organic life. It has water.
That's the choice,
it's breathable.
Period. We're done. Yes.
Do you go back then and fuck Mann and Edmonds, or do you go to the other two and pick them up?
Well, first off, you got to tell Earth what's happening. Earth needs to know first.
They would send a signal back through the wormhole, but they couldn't get a signal through the. Yeah.
Okay.
They couldn't get a signal through the wormhole, apparently. Was part of the problem.
Right. So would they go back to Earth then and say this is the one?
Right. And then...
So maybe when they come back with everybody else, they could be like, hey, we're coming to pick you up now.
Yeah.
Hope you're not dead. Like, I don't know, I guess.
It seems a bit flawed if they were planning to go to the other planets. Like, yeah, I get that it's going to take months to get to the other two, but you're gonna lose years going down there.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So I feel like they should have gone to the furthest. This is how you do things when you go out for like.
When I go to stores and I have multiple stops. Yeah, you go to the furthest
away,
right?
And then you come back to each one that comes back that's closest to the house.
That's right.
So they should have gone to Edmonds first, then Mann's, then Miller.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it should have gone. I think. Right. Especially because of the relativity that they have going on in these planets.
Yeah. And then all of this stuff would have been pretty well settled. But for some reason, and I think it has to be because of the water.
I think so.
Like, I think that is what's driving them to go to Miller's planet first.
Right. So we've made the choice. We're going to Miller's, is what we're all getting
to.
It
still doesn't make any sense. And Chris Nolan, God bless him, this man is obsessed with time. Yeah, he just loves the concept of time.
I mean, it is a very interesting concept.
I mean, but ever since Inception, excluding the Batman... No, not even! Memento has time in it. okay, let's think about this. Memento has
What's Memento?
the fact that it's Memento is the one where he can't remember things. He has no his short-term memory issue, so he can only remember things that happen for like 10 minutes and then he forgets everything.
Interesting. Yeah.
So he has that going on. Plus, the movie is told in reverse. So it's told with the last scene first, and then it goes the last scene to the first scene. So that's time. Inception
Spoiler
is all
alert.
about... It's not really a spoiler
Kind
alert.
of.
That's
You
how,
probably don't know
how
that's
the movie
happening.
is framed.
Yeah, but you don't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah, but that's how the movie is framed, is so that you understand that that's what's happening. Anyways, go on.
Anyway, Inception is framed is with time because
Of
the
course.
further in the dream you go, the more time changes relative to how you feel it.
Yes.
This
Gravity.
is all about the theory of relativity.
Yes.
Fucking Dunkirk has 3 different timelines going on in it at
That's
the same
also
time.
true.
Tenet has backwards and forwards
Yeah,
time.
lots of time.
This man loves time.
Screwing with time.
You know, I was like, the one thing that I can't understand is the theories behind time and how time works, and so it just fascinates me. It's all fascinated by time.
So
I
I
don't
think
know.
my
I don't
whole
know if
life
it's
will be
ever said.
revolved around time. And
And I
my
get it.
time.
I fucking get it. Professor Brand, Michael Caine has a line in here where he's like, I'm a physicist. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of time.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's awesome, because that's true. Because, like, all I ever think about when I'm sitting around doing nothing is, I'm wasting my time. I need to be doing something. Which is why I'm doing this with You Find People. And I'll be editing it for 7 more hours to cut it down into 3 hours for all of You Find folks.
That's right. We spend lots of time on Shelf Life.
Love every minute of it. So they decide what they can do. They're going to keep the ship outside of the gravitational pull. So it will be in the same gravitational time structure as Earth. And while they're going to do that by having it orbit some moon or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's orbiting, but they have it in... TARS is going to keep it on an orbit outside of the gravitational pull. Then it'll stay out of the time shift. They're going to lose fuel by doing this, because otherwise they could save a bunch of fuel. If it was in the gravitational fuel, it wouldn't be doing a year's worth of fuel or whatever. It would be doing an hour or whatever they plan to stay down there for.
Sure.
I would just turn the fucking power off. And
sit
all
in
of
the...
you go down there. Yeah, TARS
just
in
sit
case
in it.
can take care, or TARS can take care of himself. Just let the thing fucking float, and all 4 of you go down.
Well, the whole
you'll save fuel.
Yeah, you'd think that to save time for all of them to be on the same time still, but Ram is staying up because he's going to collect data on the black
Research
hole.
the black hole. Yeah.
Right.
Because if they can figure out the event horizon of the black hole, they can solve gravity, because if they can figure out how the black hole works, they can figure out how it warps space-time and sucks in light and sucks in everything, because nothing can escape from it. Yeah. So they decide.
You know what I feel like's happening? You know,
What?
sometimes on Red Letter Meter when they just start explaining things, and then they just overlap at them explaining things, and then it just and then it just that's what I feel like is happening right now, and it's just making me laugh because that's all I'm thinking of.
So Cooper takes them in, and he's trying to go as fast as humanly possible because why did he go? Just stay on the... I guess because somebody had to pilot them.
Yeah, he's the
like,
pilot.
Cooper,
he has
if you're
to
so
keep
concerned
them
about
safe.
time, I guess it doesn't matter. Because either way, you're losing the time, because you're either in it and you're not aging, or you're out of it and you are aging.
And yes. Well, yeah. You could always put yourself in the stasis.
That's true. Which Ram says he does a few times, but he still doesn't, because he's like...
We'll get there. It's depressing.
Yeah.
It's like very sad.
Okay. So...
There's a lot of fades to black, by the way. I didn't realize this until you pointed it out. Okay. Yeah. I think that it's a very 21 A Space Odyssey, or...
Yes,
2001.
It's supposed to convey time passing.
It's time. Yeah. It's the time shift. Fade to black.
They float down.
Yes.
And they get a fix on the beacon where Miller has been sending out this signal, but there's just a bunch of water. There's nothing but water. There's water for all the eye can see.
Yes.
And I guess the Interstellar universe has the same rules as the Star Wars universe, where one planet, one ecosystem. Because, like, it's a planet. There could be something else on it. There might not be nothing but water.
Right. But what they find there, I don't think that anybody's going to live through if it's just going across the planet like that.
That's, yeah, they do say that. They say that. You're right. Okay, so the score becomes a metronome, which in the behind the scenes they show, like, Hans Zimmer's, like, people, like the instrumental people were like, how can we make a sound that sounds like a metronome? So they were literally, like, taking, I can't remember what, and they were, like, tapping it against, like, their, like, cellos and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And then, like, the timpanis were, like, taking stuff and, like, tapping it against, like, the sticks for timpanis.
Yeah.
So, like, that is real instruments, like, making that metronome sound
right.
and shit. Because it's supposed to be, like, you're losing time. So it's literally 60 beats per minute to, like, make you feel that way, too.
Which is, honestly, that's a parallel, right, to Inception. Because that's when he plays with the how the music
plays with
works.
the way the music in that, too.
Yes.
Yep. So it turns out to be a shallow, never-ending ocean. This is a real place.
A shallow. I know.
This is a real thing.
Here's the thing, okay? Here's that's fine. That's a real thing.
They really
that's
went to
cool.
this
very
like Salt Flats type place.
Oh yeah, that's
to
like
film
the Salt
this.
Flat, isn't it? They land, okay, and I guess he's just like, well, I think we hit ground under this water, and then they just walk out, and they're just walking. They're not looking where they're stepping. They're not being careful. I have a
if there's an
problem with
undertow,
that. If all of a sudden they just floop, gone, because it's 100 miles deep now because you just fell through a hole and you weren't paying attention. That scares the crap out of me, and I'm like, how are you just walking like you're walking through a puddle? It drives me nuts.
Guess you can say Case and TARS and the technology that they have allows them to get readings that can see how deep
like radar
it goes.
Fine.
Like, because literally radar, because it like could bounce back to the.
Sure.
Maybe is that okay? Does
that
work?
That works, I guess.
Okay.
It just it freaks me out because it's just one of those things where it's
what
like,
are you doing?
In our oceans just drop off, and it's just like that scares me.
Yeah. Oh, the ocean's terrifying, but yeah, that's a different story.
This planet, though, I mean, like, it honestly reminded me of Subnautica, but it is shallow, so it's not very Subnautica-ish.
I don't know what that is, so I can't expand.
It's a video game. For any of our video game fans, you'll understand Alien Planet. It's all water.
There you go. There you
Subnautica.
go. Or Waterworld with Kevin Costner. Let's put that on the list.
All right. I'm at it.
Gravity is punishing on this planet because it is way stronger because of Gargantua than what they're used to on Earth, so they're having trouble breathing and they're having trouble moving quickly.
Yes.
They say that the signal's right here. It should be right here where she landed. And Case finds this remains of, like, the hub in the water.
Yes.
And they're like, shit. So then Brand sees, like,
mountains?
The rest of it? Well, she sees, like, the rest of the hub.
She sees, like, the rest of the hub.
And she's like, I gotta go, I'm gonna go collect the data. It's by those mountains. And Cooper is like, those aren't mountains. Like, and she might, like, those aren't buoys.
Right. Yeah.
Turns out to be this gigantic mountain-sized wave, which is caused by the gravity, which is what would happen if you had gravity like they do there, because gravity or waves are just caused by the moon's
pull
orbit,
the gravitational pull.
The gravitational pull. I can't tell what happens to Brand here. She sprained her ankle or something fucking stupid.
Okay, so what happens, because I had to explain this to the husband. What happens is she's trying to pull out the data block that's inside of the machine, and as she pulls it, it adjusts and it pushes her, and it kind of lands on top of her legs. So now she's being held down by the machine.
Okay. Got it.
In the water.
Yes. So she is stuck.
She's stuck.
And Doyle is like, Case, go get her. And at the same time, Cooper is like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
This gigantic wave is coming right for us. So we learned that Case and TARS have these abilities, which I guess is all mathematical because, like, they're just a giant rectangle, but if you break it up into smaller little rectangles, it becomes like a spirally jack.
It looks like a jack, like a flat jack that kind of like gets into like a circle, so it can like roll. Almost.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We should build one of these things.
Yeah, I kind of like this
thing.
I would want one.
Yeah, I could live with the tars, whatever. He picks her up, and they run back to the Ranger. Doyle is running back to the Ranger, too, and there's a lot of tension of, like, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? And Doyle doesn't make it. So Doyle gets sucked into the wave, and he's dead. So goodbye, Seneca Crane.
Yes.
We hardly knew ye. The wave, however, hits them as Case and Brand get into the Ranger, and just picks them up and just tosses them around like crazy.
Right.
It's very neat looking watching like how big the wave is and just like the...
it's so scary.
Yeah. But it floods the engines.
Right.
And throws them around. They land okay, like the craft is still intact, but it's flooded.
I mean, they surf the wave first, and then they land in like almost a relatively like similar spot.
I surfed a wave that was the size of a mountain.
That's right.
Tell the tale.
That's right. But
they can't take off because the engine is flooded. They have to wait for it to drain. And Case is like, it's going to take like 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
Question.
Yeah.
Can they not send something
up
to Romley to say
we're trapped?
We're stuck.
You'd
it's going to take
an hour? They would have had a communication. You'd think they would have had a communication sent.
Can they not send a communication out because
I don't know.
the ship is basically off? Is like the ship not working, so they can't send a communication?
It has to be somewhat functional.
Why not let him know we're stuck? Go to sleep. We'll be back in 7 years.
Right. It's so weird.
So
no, I agree. They should have sent him a communication.
It's kind of mean. It's very mean that they did do that. So they begin to argue because Cooper knows what this means, that he's losing time with his family. What's important to him is those little, abilities to have time with his family. And Bran is like, I get it. Like, I understand. Yeah. And so she's mad.
But, I mean, she says that they're going to lose decades, right? Which I
think
odd.
The plan was to be down there, I think, for like 10 minutes. Okay, so this is a writer's thing, right? Where it's like a writer can say, he stared at me for 10 minutes. It's like, was it really 10 minutes? Or is it writer's 10 minutes and it was 10 seconds?
I got it. I understand that. But they dropped down, right? And she did walk out pretty far. So I would say they were already there for 20 minutes. All right? 20 minutes, maybe to a half an hour. Now the whole wave thing happened. Let's say that took 5 minutes because I doubt that took that long for all of that to happen. So 25 minutes to 35 minutes, okay?
Yep.
That's where I'm counting this. Now, Case tells us potentially 45 minutes to an hour of waiting for the engine. So let's say that was a half hour plus another hour, so an hour and a half. This is not 3 hours. This is an hour and a half.
Maybe Romley and Doyle didn't calculate it right, and more time passes. Because agree,
it must be that there's a bigger pull than they were expecting, and that their calculations were off. Because
it has to be. Because yes, according to how long they're doing stuff on this planet and waiting, it wouldn't have been the 23 years, which means that they were there for 3 hours or a little over 3 hours. It seems like it should have been more like half that. It should have been more like 12 years, 13 years that they missed.
I agree. Yeah. So I don't know so the timing on that felt funky unless their calculations were so off for this planet just because of that damn black hole. I still am mad that they went to this planet because of that black hole.
Well, the interesting thing is they're like, how the hell did this happen? Because we thought she's been sending this signal out for years.
Yeah, this is
keep getting a consistent signal. She was the only one that was sending a consistent signal. Brand is like, well, based on the way that time works here, now that we know that, which they should have thought of that before landing.
Yes.
is it sent the signal once, and kept echoing. She sent the signal when she first was like, I got here.
Right.
And it kept echoing because it kept traveling through the time.
Exactly.
And so they were getting a signal for years, but for her, she sent it once.
Once, and for like maybe 10 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Before they got there.
Yeah, so she died like, an hour before they got there.
Yes, like she was just there. She just got there, and that wave took her. That's so crazy to think about, that they could have potentially saved her too, but they were like 10 minutes too late. Like,
right. Yeah, that's crazy to think about too. But 10 minutes too late on that planet really would have been years, so they would have had to have left years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. And I died. I had my brain aneurysm.
Oh my god.
And, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. I'd suggest that you just enjoy yourself. That goes for you all, too. Yes. He asks if they can go back in time. Because he's like, well, is there a way that you can go backwards through a wormhole, reverse a wormhole, find a way to get back in time? And she kind of tells him that, no, you can't go back in time. Gravity goes across dimensions. Time does not. So you cannot go back in time, you can only go forward in time, based on what we know about science. Cooper posits that they could be talking to us, though, from the future, right? Because how do we know that they're not talking to us from the future?
Right.
So they could be communicating us from the future, but they can't go to the past.
Right.
Right?
They can send messages, but can't go themselves. Right?
So right.
Okay.
I assume time has passed. They're waiting for this thing to close, and you're just getting like bits and pieces of them talking to each other. Because then a new wave comes, and they are able to hurriedly, because they're like, just throw everything to the thrusters. Let's get the hell out of here, because if we go on this again, it's over.
Right.
And they get the hell out of there, and they make it off of the planet, leaving behind the corpse of Doyle, which is fun.
I mean, it is kind of sad, but how are you going to find his body? Oh, I know, it was floating. It was floating. Never mind.
But were you going to bring the corpse back? Like, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, I don't know
like,
what you would do with it.
Shoot it out into space like Spock, I guess?
I guess. Now you're just littering.
Look at all this space junk. Fucking Seneca Crane's body's up here. They get back into the Ranger, and Ram is there. He looks older, and he looks a little crazier.
Well, of course he went a little crazy.
This acting choice is a little interesting by David Giassi. Huh. Don't know him. He's in Annihilation, apparently, and some other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I recognize him, is from Annihilation.
Yeah. He plays it a little weird, but it is a little bit, like, kind of crazed, because he's by himself.
Right.
Right?
With just a robot to keep you company.
Which it would probably be okay, but, like, that's where he's aged, too. So he's got gray in his beard now. And he can't remember how long.
He didn't stay asleep the whole time.
Right. So he's like, how long has it been? And Tars is like, it's been 23 years. And Anne Hathaway asks him, why didn't you sleep? Like, you could have just slept and waited for us. And he's like, well, I did. I had a couple stretches where I slept.
Right.
But he said he didn't think that they were coming back. Like, eventually he was like, I think they're gone.
Yeah, he thought they died or something, and he was on his own. I didn't want to sleep away my years.
Yeah, I didn't want to sleep my life away. So he was like, I could accomplish something or be up here anyway. So yeah, it's very sad that...
It's very sad.
It's interesting that this character has been alone for 23 years. Granted, he slept some of that time. Right. But he eventually was like, gave up and was like, I guess I'll just do research and like try to live while I'm up here. Right. And that's insane to think about. 23 years. Like, trying to think, like, 23 years ago and, like, that amount of time.
I just couldn't imagine that amount of time just being completely alone. This is where we also learned that you can't send the messages, because he was trying to send messages to Earth, and he couldn't. Right.
Yeah.
But they were receiving.
They were receiving, but they can't send. I'm guessing because of Gargantua or something like that.
Probably, maybe, because it's pulling, but it's not allowing it to be pushed back, maybe.
Yeah.
something.
So Cooper sits and watches the messages from 23 years. This is probably one of the, like, emotional parts of this. It's the heartstrings part, because he's literally watching. McConaughey does an awesome job in this scene. He's crying his eyes out. He's getting emotional about everything.
Yes.
He's just devastated that he's lost his life. He's lost his life to time.
Right.
And he truly has. Like, this is where we come back to, like, that idea of, like, it's the little things that we all care about in our lives. Like, all of this gigantic stuff that we've talked about or tried to explain doesn't matter to Cooper.
No.
It's all this little stuff that matters to Cooper. It's about hearing about Tom graduating high school and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And falling in love.
Yeah.
And having his grandkid.
There is so much death and, like, what that means in this movie. It is crazy how much death and like, having to deal with people getting older on you and all of that. It's crazy how much that is in this movie. So, yes, the kid turns into Casey Affleck. So Casey Affleck is playing the adult version of Tom. He tells him he got married, he had a kid. The kid died. I think later we learned that the kid died because of the dust.
Because of the dust. Yeah, probably the dust in the lungs.
And then his last message is that Grandpa died.
Yeah.
His wife is like, you have to let your dad go. He's not coming back. It's been 23 years.
Right. And it's probably doing a huge toll on him. So she's like, you need to let him go because it's hurting you.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
And they say that Murph was at the funeral. They don't see her much, but she came to Grandpa's funeral.
Yeah.
And he convinces himself that these messages are just drifting out into the darkness.
Yeah, because they're not getting anything back. They haven't heard from him in 23 years.
Which is how I feel about Shelf Life sometimes. I'm just sending these messages out into the darkness.
Talking to the ether. Totally fine.
I'm just talking to myself. That is chaos. I think it's even crazier to think about the fact that, like, he's letting him go. He thinks that he's dead. And there's Matthew McConaughey sitting there not dead.
Right.
And he can't do anything about it. He cannot tell. He can't say anything. He has no
way of getting to them or talking to them. Or...
It's not like he's, like, faked his death. He literally cannot get the message back that he's there.
He was only gone for a few hours.
Well, he was gone for a couple of years.
Well, yeah, a couple of years and a few hours on the planet. Yeah. The few hours on the planet is the 23 years.
Yeah. And however long it took him to get to Miller's planet from the wormhole, I guess. Could have taken him a few months. It sounds like everything it takes, like, a few months to a year to get to.
Sure.
So, he touches the screen because he's like, oh no, and then Murph comes back. So, we actually get a message from Murph because only Tom was sending messages.
Right.
And Murph comes on screen, now played by Jessica Chastain, now old.
Right.
I was telling someone at work that we were doing this today, because I was, like, trying to do the math in my head. Because she calls him a son of a bitch.
She does. And she's held onto this for this long.
Yeah, she held on to a grudge, for real. And she says, you once told me that, or when you left, you said that we might be the same age when you come back. And that would be really helpful because I am now the same. It must be your birthday. I am now the same age.
It's my birthday, and
it's a birthday.
Yeah. And she goes, and I'm the same age you were when you left.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Mary.
You son of a bitch. I never made one of these when you were still responding because I was so mad at you for leaving. And then when you went quiet, it seemed like I should live with that decision, and I have. But today's my birthday. And it's a special one because you told me you once told me that when you came back, we might be the same age. And today, I'm the age you were when you left. This might be a real good time for you to come back.
It's sad.
That means, first of all, that Jessica Chastain is playing a 33-year-old
Okay.
or 35-year-old, because there's the 2 years to Saturn plus the 23 years.
Right.
Okay. So talk about making you feel old. And talk about...
Yeah, but she's a different generation. Our generation looks younger because we don't want to age.
But then I was thinking about it. So in reality...
She's also been living in the dust storms, so her face and everything's
That's true.
going to look older.
So I was trying to figure out, okay, was Jessica... Because how old was Jessica Chastain when this was made? Jessica Chastain is 46. So this was made... This came out 9 years ago. So she would have been 37-ish.
Yep, there you go.
When it came out. So she was about 35, 36 when they were making it, probably. I don't know. She looks a little older than I hope I look. But that's just
like
me.
I said, maybe they did age her face a little bit because of having to deal with the less food and the water issues and the dust.
Yes.
Right?
Matthew McConaughey was born in 1969, which makes him 52, 53, right? 54. 53, 54. So these people are supposed to be the same age? Because he's roughly 8 years older than Jessica Chastain.
Okay.
I guess that's fine.
This is
that's fine.
This is also then just saying that male actors can play younger ages for a longer period of time. Women actors cannot.
True.
The second they hit a certain age, they're like, you're too old now to do that. But that male actor that's like 10 years older than her will be able to play someone way younger than her, and it's very obnoxious.
Yes.
So I
but
think
it's
that's
weird
also what's
It's weird to
happening
think
here.
that Matthew McConaughey is playing 35 in this. It's kind of weird to think
he
about
looks
that.
old to me.
He looks older.
He doesn't look 35. He looks 50.
No. But I guess you're not supposed to kind of think about that. But it probably would have
Time is
been
relative.
easier if they would... Yeah, if they would have said 30 years have passed, but it's not it's like that's too round of a number, so like 23 and whatever. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine. I'm just going to keep saying they all look older because of the Dust Bowl. All right?
Yes.
That is my
they
response
absolutely
to
look
everything. They all
older.
look
Look at those
older.
people. Look at all the people that survived the Great Depression. They all look like shit.
Yeah, because
all of them.
because they had to deal with so much stress. Look at them.
Yeah. They were all smokers. They all had
That
dust
too.
in their lungs.
That too.
Okay. So this pulls us out of the message that Murph is giving to Cooper.
Yes.
And back at NASA,
So we just
like go
wormholed
back. Yeah,
the
we like go
computer.
back to NASA because like it changes to Murph's perspective,
Yes.
and we get Professor Brand, still played by Michael Caine, and I haven't aged a day in 20
That's
years.
right. I mean, he's
The
in a
only
wheelchair.
thing that happened is
He's
that I'm
kinda
now
just
in a wheelchair.
saggy. I think that's
Saggy. You know, when you get older, you get a little saggy.
well. He just seems kind of like, you know, like
Oh, I plan to sag when I'm old, baby. It's all gonna sag.
God damn it! That's not what I meant.
We find out that Brand and Murphy are still working on that gravity equation.
Yes.
They're trying to figure out how to solve it. So they've been trying to solve it for 20 years or however, long it took.
I bet she came
Murph
over when
to
she was a
learn it.
teenager.
Yeah, probably. He wants her to talk to them. He thinks it's good to talk to them because he's like, eventually they're going to come back. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, they had no idea how long it was going to take.
Sure.
But I don't think they thought it was going to take this long.
Yeah, I
He
think they were
believes they're
hoping
still
it
out
would have
there.
taken a lot less.
Yeah. He knows they're still out there. And he's actually more afraid. He's like, am I more afraid that they'll come back or that they'll come back and we'll have failed? And this is where he says the thing about not being afraid to die and all that stuff.
Right.
Murph thinks that they have to stop time from being a constant because the line about being afraid of time, I don't know if it's about time being a constant, but it's about something about messing with the constants.
Right, because time and the relativity and all of that, and however it gets pushed and pulled through space, that's what they have to look at, and they aren't looking at that piece.
So she's kind of like
whatever. I don't know. That's how
I don't know.
That's how I understood it.
I don't fucking know. Astrophysicist fans of Shelf Life, I know you're out there. Please let us know. I honestly do want to know what the hell.
Actually, I would. Go ahead. You can write in. I'll read anything you write.
Unless you're one of those like wackos that astrophysicists that is like, we're in a simulation. It's all going to hell.
Honestly, though. I'd read that. So that would probably be interesting. Too.
Also, if we are in a simulation, what's the difference? I'm still have to
living
pay my
here.
taxes. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Even if we are in the Matrix, this is what I've been given to live by.
This is what I'm in. I still have to live my life.
That's right.
Murph thinks that they're trying to solve the equation wrong, or in a way where like they're tying their hands behind their back. They're trying to solve it in a really hard way.
Right.
And Professor Brand doesn't want to answer that. He's like, I'm going to go talk to my daughter. Or go leave another message instead.
Right. Yes. Could you imagine how many messages she had to listen to?
How many times she had to listen to that goddamn poem?
Rambles on. Yeah, that poem over and over again.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when you realize you've lost, like, 23 years, I guess you would have...
No, you know what, I understand. That's fine, but she must have been sitting in that room for hours.
Oh, she must have sat there for a while. I mean, they have months, right? Because they have to get to a place where they have to decide to go to Edmonds or Mann's.
Yes, exactly.
So they're traveling to one of the other or like traveling to get to those planets right now anyway.
Right.
But yes, we go back to the Ranger. She's watching the
videos as well.
The videos. They don't have enough fuel now because they burned 23 years of it to get to Edmonds and Mann's.
Right.
They have to pick one. This is what Brand says. So she says Edmonds' data is better. She wants to go to Edmonds. She thinks they'll find the same problem that they had with Miller because of how Mann's planet is closer to Gargantua than Edmonds' planet is.
Sure.
And her point is, like, nothing can sustain life on any of these planets that's close to the black hole because it makes for chaos on the planets. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. Should have thought of that before you went down there. But I understand now that you actually got to observe it real time that it's all screwed up at this point. Mm-hmm. This is why I said you go the furthest away.
Yeah. Always go the furthest away. Always.
You don't want to be right next to a black hole. You want to go the furthest away from the black hole.
Always go the furthest away from black hole. Folks at home, if you find yourself near a black hole, you go the furthest away from it.
Our wormhole friends who are listening to this.
That's right. Our fifth dimensional friends. You can put, if you want to find a way to get Rachel and I in a Tesseract, we'll do it.
I'll try it. I might freak out for a while.
My brain might explode, I guess. But, I mean, if I can wrap my head around it, I'll try it. But I also want a TARS. So
yeah, I have to have TARS. We have to have a TARS if we're going to go into the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Period.
And I'm assuming that you're putting us in the Tesseract because Shelf Life is extremely popular in the future. And then we would also get to know, like, all of the episodes and be able to, like, hear all of the episodes, like...
Could you imagine?
That we do. Yeah,
we're just great. Like going through, and it's like it's like the Tesseract.
It's the giant shelf
life. It's the Shelf Life Tesseract. It's the biggest shelf in the universe.
Yeah, complete with all the Shelf Life episodes.
Could you imagine?
Hours and hours and hours and
all the parallel universes of all the different types of Shelf Lives we could have done and would have done and have done. Wow.
Great. It's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
So anyway, Rom says let's put it to a vote. But Cooper's like, all right, we can put it to a vote. However, because they're saying that Mann's data is better, but Edmonds' data makes more sense, like from a scientific background or something. I don't know. I can't figure it out. Or Mann's data is more consistent. He's sending a signal. Edmonds stopped sending a signal.
Edmonds stopped sending a signal, but his
has better data. Yeah.
But Mann is being consistent.
Yeah.
And all of that.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
So
the data is still fine.
Mann is still alive or something.
Is what
so
I think
they think that could mean that they have a camp or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, she's in love with Edmonds, is what Cooper says. And this is when Brand admits to being in love with Edmonds, the other scientist. She wants to follow her heart.
So listen to me. When I say that love isn't something we invented, it's observable, powerful. It has to mean something.
Love has meaning, yes. Social utility, social bonding, child rearing.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand.
This is where it gets kind of...
Gets a little corny.
Yeah.
Gets a little corny. Gets a little... I don't know what the word I want is.
I mean, corny
is the only word I can come up with.
Yeah. Because they're trying to say that... Okay, I think this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that love has meaning...
As a force.
Love has a reason. Because
Yeah.
love makes sense, because if you love something, you have to take care of it, and it perpetuates your loved ones.
Desire and like the continuous life, right? Love is what continues life. That's kind of like the whole idea.
But Brand is like, but you love things that have died. There's no reason to do that unless there's no scientific reason for that. And they're like, okay, that's fair. And so her point is that maybe it means something more than social utility to have love. Maybe it transcends time and space. Maybe there's something to the fact that it's being, like, she's being drawn back to this person. She has a chance to see someone she hasn't seen in a decade.
There's like
because of that.
There's a force, there's a magnetic pull between, love and beings and like that kind of thing.
And she's like, just because I'm excited to see him doesn't mean I'm wrong. And Cooper's like, it kind of does, though. You're not objective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rachel, objectively, now we know what happens.
Yeah,
but what do you
this is the problem.
But what do you think? Do you think that she was truly thinking logically, or was she trying to force a theory to work for her benefit?
The thing is,
because we agree that they should have gone to Edmonds first to begin with.
We all agree that everybody should have gone. We should have just gone to Edmonds.
We all agree, folks at home. We all agree about that.
You're on that with us.
Yes.
I think she's taking the logic and she's like, well, they're very equal. The one we just don't get pings from, the other one we're still getting pings from, right? That's the difference. But she also has this pull and she has this love, so she's like, why go to Mann? We can go to Edmund where there's more to it. We have the good data and I get to have him back.
Yeah.
So I think she's taking the logic and she's saying, well, I just want to add on this little piece where, I actually have like this relationship with like a person instead of it just being, here's another scientist. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I think she wants the data to help them go towards Edmund's area. But now they're not even going to take her seriously because of the love thing, which sucks.
Right. Yes, it's an interesting concept. I don't know if there's any research or thoughts or philosophical thought, because again, the movie kind of goes into philosophical stuff too, for sure. Back on Earth, Murph is visiting the farm. She won't stay at the house. She refuses to stay at the house. Too many memories and stuff like that. The son has this terrible cough.
Oh my god, it's a barking cough.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable to hear it. And it's because of the dust. So the dust is getting worse. It's causing the generations to be
sick,
in terrible shape and stuff like that. Murph is kind of saying, like, I have somebody I could probably have, like, check that cough. And clearly, like, the wife is, like, afraid of Casey Affleck or something because... Or Casey Affleck must, like, think that Murph's, like, too big of, like, a so-and-so.
I think
like,
that might be it.
And, like, the farm is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the earth or anything like that.
I think part of it is you, won't give up on this crap that's just theory and not actually helping people. I'm helping people. I'm growing food. I'm feeding others. Like, he's doing stuff for the earth, and she's just writing crap down on a board. Like, you're
Yeah.
not doing anything. It's not helping, I think
Yeah.
is how he sees it.
Sure. I think that's very true. Yes.
Yes.
I think that's how there's a segment of the population that views science, because they don't understand that it takes time and has to be flexible and has to be moving and slow, and during your lifetime there might not be any
Eureka moments.
advancements. Yeah.
Yes. But,
Uh,
and so I think the mom wants to do that, but he's also set in his ways here. He is like,
Right.
this is what we're doing. This is where we are. This is our life. Period.
Cooper says it wasn't personal to make that decision to go to Mann's, but Bran says, fine, you were doing what you thought was, logical or whatever. She says, but you are going to have to make a decision and hope that you use objectiveness, because if we go on Mann's planet and it's not right, you have a choice. Do you
Yep.
either go home or do you start plan B on Edmund's planet?
Right.
And he's like, you have to decide between your children or the fate of the
future.
human race.
Yep, the future of the human race. Yep, exactly.
I like the way that she kind of sticks it back to him by being like, I can like picture her storming off and like going back to like her quarters or whatever and being like, oh, I fucking should have said, I know what I should have said. I should have told him, well, you know what? If we get this wrong, it's on fucking you, because we could have gone to Edmund's planet first and you fucked up, pal. You could tell, like, if she would have said that then, maybe he would have thought about it for a second instead of like.
Well, I
them
mean,
going
she
on the-
kind of did do that, though.
She didn't say, though, like, well, we're gonna have to make a choice here if we're wrong about Mann's. Like, she never like put it back to them like, well, if you're wrong about Mann, then
She does, though.
we don't have a choice to go home.
She does.
Does she?
Yeah, you just said it. That's exactly what she said.
Okay, but I'm saying she says that after they make the choice to go to Mann's
Oh,
planet.
you're saying after the choice.
Yes, I'm saying if she would have.
Okay,
that's
because
what
they're
I'm saying.
already on their way type
Yeah,
of thing.
she stormed off, and they were like, "Okay, go. We're going to Mann's."
Okay.
But if she would have said it then,
Okay.
yeah. That's
That
why
makes.
I'm
I was
saying-
like, what do you mean? She did
That's
say
why
it,
I'm
but she just didn't
saying
say
is
it earlier.
She came up with it like oh, I should have said that. I should have said that. The next time I see you, I'm gonna fucking get him with that one.
Right.
But it's too late.
It's too late.
Back on Earth, Brand is dying, and he says, "I let you all down. I failed you, Master Wayne. I failed you."
Yeah.
This is when I was like, this movie has a lot of people dying in it.
Oh yeah. There's a
And
lot
it-
of death.
but
I mean, it makes
but
sense though.
But it's supposed to be about the ravages of time. Like, that's the whole crux of this movie, is that we only have so much time.
Right.
And, like, what if you lost all that time? But it was to save the human race and all that kind of crap.
Yep.
So he apologizes to her. He's like, I'm sorry, I failed you. And if they're out there. And she's like, I believe they're out there, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I wanted her, Murph, to believe that her father would come back. But Professor Brand never intended them to come back.
No.
It's very weird.
Yes.
Because I guess his intention was just they're gonna have to start Plan B.
No matter
Somewhere.
what. Yeah, I have a feeling like that was his plan. Like he's like, no, they're not gonna end up coming back because they're just gonna go. They're gonna find that this planet is viable, and they're just gonna say we're gonna have to just do Plan B. Period.
Yeah.
Like I don't
And
think that they were
and the Earth is
gonna come
screwed.
back. Right.
Yeah.
I think he thought they were just gonna come to that conclusion. We just have to start Plan B right away.
Yeah. And because he can't figure out gravity, he's like it's over on Earth anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity's just with your dad and my daughter is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
He dies though before he can confirm whether or not the crew knew what his plan was.
Yes.
Because now she's contemplating whether or not they've been abandoned.
Right. Like he just
Because
completely
then
abandoned
it is
them
that
and
he just
knew.
abandoned them. Yeah.
Yes, that would be horrific.
Which he never would have done, but like, does she think he would have done that for the human race? Like, who
Right.
knows?
Right.
So she goes to send a message to Amelia Brand
Yes.
that her dad died.
Yes.
So she tells him that your dad died today and it was peaceful and everything. And then she waits for a minute. And then she's like, "Did you guys know? Did you know? Like
That this was
she
whole thing was
almost
a
is
farce,
like you had to know, right? Like he's
You're the
your
daughter.
dad.
Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you have known?
And kind of weirdly, because we go back to space, and Case is watching this. It's almost like Case is like, this is all a fraud. I have to alert them. Because, like, they're on their way to Mann's planet.
Do you think that's what they did? Do you think Case, because Tars was with them on the planet, so Tars was up on the ship and Case went down with them. So Tars...
is Case down with them? Tars is the one that sends it?
Well, no, I think Case is the one on the ship now, but I think Tars was the one that was on the ship before, right? So when they were down there for 23 years, right? I think Tars just sat and watched all their videos to, like, entertain himself then. Is that what happened? Is that what we're led to believe?
No, Tars was maintaining the ship.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah,
so
he's
Case
maintaining
is
the
just bored
Endurance.
and is just watching their videos.
Case was just watching the video. Well, because he
I
ends up going down there.
I'm wondering if Case is looking for any information that is, like, needed, like any, like, emergency messages. So
I think they're keeping one of them. I think that's why one of them stays up there and one of them goes down.
Because they're looking for emergency messages.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So then it makes sense why he was watching this. It's not that creepy.
I know what happens here is that it cuts back and forth a lot between the farmhouse and Mann's planet. I think we do these separately because otherwise I'm just going to keep saying back at the farmhouse, back on Mann's planet, back at the farmhouse.
Yeah, let's do Mann's planet and then we'll do the farmhouse.
And then we'll do the farmhouse. Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand why they were doing that. One of the criticisms that Red Letter Media had, and I get their criticism of this, is that you don't want to keep going back to the farmhouse because it's space. It's more grand.
Space, yes.
And I keep wondering then, would it make sense to do all the farmhouse stuff first and then do the space stuff so that you follow?
That's fine.
No. I'm not saying.
Oh, you think the way they're doing it?
I'm saying, should the movie have been edited in a way where it doesn't cut back and forth, which I understand why they're doing it because that's Christopher Nolan's thing with the time and one thing affecting the other
showing a bit of
across the galaxies. But would it have been made more sense from a rising action standpoint to be on the farmhouse and then go to the planet and do all of that stuff? So, and then you meet up with them in the Tesseract.
Potentially. I feel like, though, you kind of would ruin getting to a point from one perspective for the other. Because you know where you're going to get for the other perspective by getting to that point beforehand. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep.
So I think there should have been a little less snapping back and forth, maybe.
Yep.
But I do think it makes sense that it kind of has to do it so that they both meet at the same point, at the same time. Otherwise, you get there once and then you have to wait till the other one gets there. That I think would feel a little bit less grand and getting to that point all at the same time together.
Sure.
I don't know. I probably explained it that funky, but
I'm sure it's no different
best.
than I'm doing my best than any of the other explanations that we've given in this episode. They start floating in to Mann's planet.
Yes.
It is ice clouds, which apparently are not something that could really exist necessarily.
I guess if it's like
they'd be weighted
warming
down,
and cooling,
they'd be too heavy or something.
Maybe. I guess it depends on the gravity and stuff here. The gravity
That's
here
true.
feels lighter.
I think Mann says 80% at some point.
Yeah, so it looks lighter.
So it's lighter. It's 80% of Earth, so it's lighter than Earth.
Yeah. So maybe that's why like the cloud can kind of become frozen up top.
Sure.
Because it is all condensed water, so...
Yeah, why not? This is based off of a glacier in Iceland is where they filmed this.
I do feel like the flags wouldn't really be blowing as much. They should be kind of more frozen, but...
Yeah, that makes sense.
A little bit more stiff.
But they even say, well, because that's where they filmed it. It's like filming it in Iceland, and they really built that like hub thing that Dr. Mann is like stuck in, which is why like it's been 20 years or whatever now. So like
it looks
that's
kind
why
of
it's
like it was like built like
the glacier's kind of building around it now.
Sure.
And...
I mean, I guess the flags and stuff are all completely like ripped and torn.
So they really built that. They like built it into the they built part of it into the glacier like that, and then they like filled out like
that's
fake
intense
rock.
Sure.
And they really did all the stunts that we're about to talk about on the glacier and things like that. They had to film in a parking lot at one point because the wind became so strong there that they couldn't film safely, and Chris Nolan was like, well, we have to do something, so they started filming it in the parking lot.
Oh my god.
Really on set, really doing this stuff, not behind green screens and all that kind of crap. They get down to the planet, they open up Dr. Mann's sleeping tube.
Yes, they get
for lack
inside
of a better
of
term.
his building, and it looks a little torn up. Like, you can kind of see some wires and stuff. There's honestly, you can see one of the robots is like torn apart in one corner, and then they open up his sleeping chamber, and it's kind of, you get this like weird feeling like, is he gonna wake up? Is he just a dead body? Like, I got that weird feeling all of a sudden. Yes. For like a second, I was like, is he just dead in there? Like, the way that they're acting is like, is he just dead? Like, is he gonna wake up? But
well, he does.
Right.
And it is, I remember in the theater being surprised by this because I did not know he was in it. And
yes,
it's like oh, that's interesting, because you've been holding back who this is the entire movie.
Right.
And Dr. Mann is played by Matt Damon.
Yes, so Matt Damon's in the film though. And he immediately grabs Cooper and starts crying.
Starts bawling his eyes out.
Yes.
Because he thought he would never see another human being again.
Exactly. He didn't think they were going to come for him.
So they're trying to, like, comfort him and everything. Dr. Mann, they've explained it, is supposed to be, like, the Steve Rogers of NASA, to be, like, the leader of this group that went into space.
Exactly.
So they're letting Dr. Mann, like, thaw out. And he's explaining to them, like, you know, I never thought that I'd see any person again. I never thought this was going to work.
He didn't have any supplies anymore. He was
running out of supplies.
It just became a dire situation for him at that point.
Yeah. They're like, well, tell us about your planet. So, like, Brand is almost, like, trying to calm him down because he's like, Dr. Mann, please tell us about your planet.
Yeah, like, don't think about that part. Let's talk about the planet.
Yeah. So he talks about, I'm going to get the hours wrong. It's like a 62-hour day and 62-hour night or something like that. Yeah, there's
60-some hours for both. It's like, okay.
Well, you know how it rotates, it spins in a circle.
It's still kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's terribly cold, and it's even worse at night.
Right.
But he talks about how there's a surface, and
they're like at the top of the mountain type of thing.
They're at the top. Yeah, they're at the top, and if they get down to the surface, there's actually potential organic life, and the ability to sustain life is here. Mm-hmm. So he convinces them that there is the ability to sustain life on this planet.
Right.
At the same time, Case is like, Tars is sending you a message, or Tars says that, like, hey, Case is sending a message for you, Dr. Brand.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I guess I'll just take it right now for some reason.
Well, because if it's an emergency message, like, and they have to, like, figure out what's going on.
That's okay. You're right.
Again, I think that's what's happening with these messages. Okay. That's why
I was like,
the robots are
just
listening.
Gonna take the message right now, but I guess that makes sense. And I guess at this point,
he
they're
wouldn't
just
have
like,
sent
okay,
it if it was like, I love you, darling, and let me tell you this poem again. And I don't think he would have been like, your dad sent your poem for the 150th time, like. Right.
Well, and I guess all right, we're going to let this guy kind of regain his bearings. We need to, like, do some research on your planet. And then we're not really losing time. So we just need to see, like, what the planet has so that we can take you back with us to get home or whatever.
Right.
So as they're explaining, or as they're kind of like hanging out at the camp, Case sends the message down, and it's Jessica Chastain, it's Murph saying that the planet, or that there was never any plan to do this. It's just about plan B.
Your dad's dead, and now the plan. It's like, he told me something. He told me it was all a lie. Yeah.
So they're all like, is this true? Like, can this be?
Yeah.
And
like, none of them knew.
Man is like, yes, it's true.
Like,
I knew it was true.
Like,
yeah.
Right. All right.
So they're kind of like, so you dragged 11 people with you to all of these planets knowing that you weren't going to go back because you knew that, like, there was no intention of ever bringing humanity with. That's so bizarre.
It does feel bizarre, yes.
But at the same time, I kind of, like, so it's, like, altruistic, right? Because, like, he thinks he's doing this for the right reasons because he was like, they were never going to solve that fucking equation.
Right.
It was not solvable.
Yes.
So the only choice was for us to go out here and find a planet.
Right.
So Cooper is like, I just want to go home.
Yep.
Like,
he
fine.
hit a point where it's like, screw you all, I'm going home.
Yeah. Yes, he does an Eric Cartman. Oh, I'm going home. He's like, fine, the planet's dying. I'm going to go find my fucking kids.
We know this one. Fine, we're just going with this one. I'm going home then. I'm telling him.
Yeah. And if you guys want to stay here and you guys want to start the colony or whatever, fine. I'll go back. I'll tell them where you're at. If anything can be sent through the wormhole, we'll do it that way. But that's where I'm going.
Yep. And he'll die with his family.
Right. And I'll die on Earth. So
they also do talk about the black hole and how Cooper wants to go through the black hole. Okay.
So Romley tells him to go, if he goes back through the black hole, through the event horizon, and he's able to come out on the other side.
Because they because they also need any analytics from inside the black hole.
That's the only way to solve this equation.
Yes.
Is by going into a black hole. So if they send TARS into the black hole,
yep.
And he's taught TARS what to look for in the 23 years that they were stranded together, then they can send it to Earth.
Yes.
And maybe there's a chance for Earth to be saved because they could solve that equation.
Yes.
Solve the equation. And they're like, okay,
11.
something moving fast. Wunderbar. Something moving fast on the horizon. It's possible because black hole. TARS needs to remove something from Mann's Kip, though. He needs to take a piece of some data that Kip has,
right?
Because to be able to go through the black hole.
They want to. So I think they also want to take Kip's data of this planet. I think is part of it too.
Yeah.
So that they can take all of the data at the same time and just group it all together.
Matt Damon has said that he decommissioned Kip because he needed to use it for parts because he was running out of supplies. So he just decommissioned him. And like this whole time they're like, well, can we like start him back up? Because like TARS is like, well, I can start him back up. We've got
We got
and
pieces.
he's like, no, it's okay, that's fine. You don't have to do that. It's fine. So like, you're so in retrospect, you're clearly like suspicious of Mann. TARS is the only one that grew suspicious of Mann, by the way.
Oh yeah, at the beginning, he's just like,
yeah.
The
TARS
hell
from
do you
the
mean?
off is like, yeah.
Okay.
So Mann wants to wait to go to the surface because Cooper's like, look, I'll go with you. I'll see what the base camp is, and then I think he even tells TARS like 72 hours. We're getting out of here.
Yes.
So or 2 hours. It's either 72 hours or 2 hours, and then we're gonna go.
It's one of those.
It must be 72 because I think he's like, we have to wait for like a night to pass or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So he's like, I'll go with Dr. Mann down to base camp, see what kind of camp he's got set up, and then I'm going to take off. Mann's like, are you sure you want to do that? Because, it's going to be kind of windy and cold. And
he's like, well, we could wait. I don't know about the storm. It might pass. It might stabilize.
My girlfriend is down there, but you probably don't know her. And she's going to be back here any minute. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
She's gonna bring all sorts of, all this poon I've been getting here on this planet. You wouldn't believe it. So Cooper's like, yeah, let's do it because I want to get the hell out of here. And he's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I'll show you. So they go off onto this glacier.
Right.
And this is where we get some farm shit. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Romley goes into the hub thing.
Yes.
All right. And he
his
has
main
TARS.
base, right.
He's got TARS taking a look at Kip. And meanwhile, Mann and Cooper are down on the glacier. Dr. Mann starts monologuing like a James Bond villain.
My God, the man does not shut up. But I mean, I guess
This
he
is
hasn't been
so-
talking to people, but good Lord.
So Christopher Nolan. Oh, I do the same thing when I don't go to work for a few days and I'm just at home by myself, talking to myself. And then
You
I
just
go
start
to work
monologuing?
I just start talking.
I thought you
No.
monologued to yourself. I didn't realize.
No. I monologue at work. I start talking about everything and anything.
Of course. That's what I'm doing here. This is the only time I talk.
Yeah. Dr. Mann monologues about sending men, so that's why his name is Mann. Do you get it, Rachel? Because he's man. He is man.
Okay, that's fine. Because man is corrupt, is that?
Yes.
Ah.
He's sending men because of survival instincts. So he's like, our survival instincts are why he sent us out here and why we're able to do this, and it's our survival instincts that will get us through this because of the fact that, like, we have to find a way to get out. That's what this is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, the last thing that you see before you die will be your children's faces because it'll help you survive longer because you're going to try to survive longer for them. Isn't that fascinating? I'm not planning your death or anything.
Yeah, really?
I'm not thinking about what's going to happen when you die. That's for damn sure. It was at this point, Rachel, that I paused the movie and thought, I've got to be pretty close to the end because I know what all the beats are that come after this. And there was an hour left of this movie.
There's an hour left.
Okay. So then Mann
says...
says...
we paused and I watched the rest the next day.
What did your husband think of this, by the way? Out of curiosity. We can talk about that in the verdict, but...
I think he was interested in it. I think he liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a slow burn, so it was one of those
Has
where
he
it was
seen
just
it before?
No. He's never seen it before.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. So Mann says he never considered that his planet wasn't the one. Oh, we also find out that they're able to, like, propel themselves down on the glacier using these, like, jetpack things.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think those are real.
I think those are real.
I'm pretty sure those are real.
Spacewalking kind of
like,
shit.
It helps. It's doing that force thing again. It's pushing it the opposite way. So
right.
It helps.
Did you like that Dr. Mann had a different suit? Because he had like the Lazarus.
Right. Yeah. He's
suit.
got like the orange suit. Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to them, which had like the typical NASA-looking suits.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting.
There's a small establishing shot of where Cooper's mic is.
Yes.
Because he tells Case, like, keep a, like...
he's like flying the ship.
Slow down the ship a little. You're, like, going too fast or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's only so that when this happens, we know what just happened.
What he ripped off.
Yeah. So Mann rips off the microphone from Cooper's headset, throws it, and then pushes him off the glacier.
Yep. Because there is no surface.
Right. And he's like, once the others realize that there is no surviving here, it's going to be too late. He needs to get them all off the planet.
Yes.
Or kill them all and take it for himself before they realize it, because otherwise they're going to be like, oh, we can't stay here. And he's trying to get back.
You can't stay here. Go to Edmund's planet.
Right. What is Mann's goal? Is it to get back to Earth?
I think he's got space madness. He has completely lost his mind. He thinks he's doing the right thing and like taking control, but you're not doing anything at this point. You're not helping. Yeah. I think he also just doesn't want to be caught in the lie.
Yeah, because I think he's not as noble as they all thought he was.
Right, because they all kind of worshipped him a little bit.
Yeah. So now he's like in this space where he doesn't know how to. Yeah. Well, it's he's he's like a homelander, or a politician, where it's like before anything
really
comes
talk
out, like they all thought he was like the greatest, and then like they realized what he really is.
Right.
So Mann faked the data.
Yes.
He faked that there was a surface. And the day that he arrived at this planet, he saw it had absolutely nothing. And, like, his choices were die here.
Alone.
Because there's no way out.
Yep.
And he's like, he resisted the temptation to push the button all he could. But he knew that if he pushed that button, somebody would come save him. So he kept pushing the button.
Bastard. Faked his data and sent it.
A good use of the fuck that they get for this being PG-13? This was PG-13, right?
Yes,
So they get the one
I
fuck,
believe so.
unlike me, who uses it more than sparingly.
Sometimes
And-
as just like filler.
Because Matthew McConaughey calls him a fucking coward. I thought that was a good use of
That's
their
a
one
good
fuck.
spot for it. Yes,
Mhm.
it adds a lot of emphasis to coward.
And Mann admits it. He's like, yep, I'm a coward. I know I'm a coward. I'm a coward. And they start tussling on the glacier.
Yeah.
How do they get back to tussling? Because I thought that Dr. Mann pushes Cooper down.
So he
and
pushes
then
him. He pushes him down, and he goes like Cooper's hanging on to the side of the mountain.
Oh, that's
He
right.
starts
Okay.
climbing down to like smash his hands with like the spikes he has on his boots that help him.
His
climb.
crampons.
Right. He ends up like pulling, and then they roll to the side where there's actually a ledge. So that's where they start
Okay.
tussling.
Okay. Yeah, so they start Star Wars fighting on the side of this glacier. It is good though, like
until he starts headbutting him, then I don't know if that's Star Wars anymore.
well, that they're really just kind of wrestling around because they're scientists. They don't really know how to fight, but
Sure.
regardless.
They're really just. I think at this point it's just who can get the other one's helmet off.
Well, and that's what ends up happening, right? Because Cooper has Mann pinned down.
Yes.
And then Dr. Mann starts cracking his glass by headbutting his helmet.
Yes, and Cooper even is
And-
like, you could kill both of us? Like,
Well,
what
yeah,
are you
he's like,
doing?
there's a 50-50 chance you're going to kill yourself. And he's like, well, it's better odds than I've had the past 20 years.
Oh my god.
So he's like, fuck it.
the man has gone nuts.
Yeah. The
Absolutely insane.
glass breaks, and Dr. Mann starts leaving while Cooper
And
dies.
monologuing.
And monologuing like a James Bond villain.
Don't judge me, Cooper. You were never tested like I was. Human have been. You're feeling it, aren't you? The survival instinct. That's what drove me. It's what drives all of us. And it's what's gonna save us. Because I'm gonna save all of us. For you, Cooper. I'm sorry, I can't watch you go through this. I'm sorry. I thought I could, but I can't. I'm here. I'm here for you. Just listen to my voice, Cooper. I'm right here.
Cooper is just sitting there trying to breathe. Because
Yeah,
all of
but
his air is being sucked out.
He can only breathe so much because the air is like ammonia.
It's like toxic. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's bad for him. It's going to slowly suffocate him.
And like I think burn
Which
his
I think is
lungs
also
type of a
which I think
thing,
is also
too.
supposed to be like a comparison to the slow suffocating of Earth at the same time.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Man says, "Don't judge me, Cooper. You were never tested like I was. Like you never had to like put up with
Yeah.
being by yourself."
Yeah.
And I was just gonna say, then Man says that he's going to save all of them. He's
Yeah,
gonna
he's gonna
save them all.
He's gonna save them all, and he's just like, "But I'm here with you. Look,
Yes.
I just can't watch this though. I thought I could.
Yeah, he
but
like
I
turns around. He's
can't."
like, "I can't watch it."
And then
I
and he's like,
can't
"But
watch it."
but I'll keep talking. Just listen to my voice." And it's like, dude, he doesn't want to hear your voice. Like,
Yeah,
you just
I think in
murdered
his-
him.
I think in his mind, he really thinks that he's
Comforting.
comforting. Yeah. Well, because he still wants to play the hero. He thinks
wants
he's
to
still
play the
playing
hero. Exactly.
This is a
And then
Matt
he even
Damon is-
turns off his mic, so he's like, I don't want to hear.
Yeah,
him.
he's
It's
like, I can't listen to
suffocating.
you
I can't
anymore,
do
yeah.
it. It's like, oh my god.
Matt Damon does a pretty good job of playing like this cowardly
Oh, yeah.
guy that thinks he's the hero.
Right.
It's a good character. I like
Yes.
I like this character because it is like it's very villainous. You understand how he became villainous.
yes.
Maybe he wasn't villainous before they left, but
Right.
you understand how
He
getting
snapped.
but also being pompous and having the hubris to think that your planet is going to be the planet.
Exactly.
And then you get there and it's not. You don't accept your fate, which you
Right.
thought you told everyone else to.
Mm-hmm.
Then you cowardly decide to
lie and
Yeah.
and screw everybody. Like, come on.
Yeah, screw the human. Yeah, you literally screw the human race. He asks if he sees his children. He asks if Brant told him the poem. Turns off the communicator, like we said. Cooper, though, finds his communicator,
In the snow.
and
yeah.
and he starts shouting for Case and Brant to come fly and save this. Like he's there.
He just
like,
can't breathe. Help. Like
Yeah.
It's
So
enough.
they fly
It's
in,
enough for
they
them to be
fly
like, no, we
in
got to do something.
and save him. Yep, and they can find him because everybody can track each other in this movie. It's fine.
Well, I would have kind of assumed that you have some sort of like attachment that allows them to like watch you on some
Yeah.
sort of radar
Yeah,
machine.
it's fair. It's fair. There's a security lockout on Kip
Mm-hmm.
as Tars is trying to fix Kip, and it requires a person. It needs a person to access it. It needs a fingerprint or something to like be
Yeah, some type
able
of
to access.
human thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, well, we just need to, if I need to do this, I'll do this. They're giving Cooper oxygen, so they've picked him up on the Ranger, and they're like trying to head back to that place because they're like, Romley might be in trouble. Like, we don't know what Mann's trying to do.
Something could have happened. We don't know.
Romley tries to unlock it and realizes that the data is fake, and he's like, this data doesn't make any sense as Kip's data, because Kip was probably like, sir, you're giving them fake data or whatever, and Mann was probably like, shut up, and that's why he dismantled him.
Right.
It's because Kip probably had some sort of code to be more conscious of that.
Of the whatever's being sent. Right.
So Mann makes it back, and he blows up the base. So he's got, like, Kip triggered to blow.
Yeah. Yes.
And blows it up.
He turns Kip into a bomb. Like, this man is insane at this point.
So he takes the shuttle off to go off-world and steal the Endurance.
Yep.
Which will then just strand
everybody
Brand
else.
and Cooper. Or whoever else ends up on there, yeah. Doesn't care. As the Ranger is, like, circling back, though, they find Tars. Tars gets, like, a hero moment where he, like, comes out of the wreckage.
Yes.
He's like, on Gumby legs. And, like, hops
they grab
up
him.
Yeah.
And he's like,
They're like, we
Romley's
need
dead.
to get Tars! yeah. He tells him Romley's dead. So
He couldn't
Romley
save him, which is sad, because he probably tried to save him.
Yeah. What a shitty life for Romley. You spent 23 years alone, some months traveling to this planet, and then gets blown up by this coward.
Yep. Horrible.
But Case tells them that Tars disabled the autopilot on the docking procedure because he didn't trust Mann.
Yes. I love that. I'm not gonna lie, but I love that. Go Tars.
Go Tars.
Well, seriously, though. Like, I don't trust this man. Why would I allow him to just take everything?
So we get a docking sequence attempted by Mann.
Which is weird also because this AI has trust issues.
Yes. Which is probably another story to be made there.
Anyway.
But yes. So he doesn't know how to dock it because it's very specific on how to dock this thing, and he hasn't had to do that because he probably had a crew to dock the Endurance.
Oh, sure. He probably had a flight
or they didn't
person.
take the Endurance. They took something else to the other side or whatever. He doesn't know how to dock it, and he botches the sequence. He doesn't completely dock it. He gets it close enough so that he can kind of like step through it or whatever. And at the same time, Brand and Cooper are telling him, like, don't do this. Please don't do this. Don't do this. It's not locked on. It's going to be bad.
But he's not listening.
Yeah,
he turns off the communications.
Don't care. I'm desperate. He turns it off. And they're like, what's going to happen if this isn't docked on right? And they're like, bad stuff. So they start to try to pull back because it's going to burst. He ignores all their crying. And he tries to tell Brand, like, it doesn't matter what he told you. I'm taking command of this ship. I'm the commander here, and all that kind of crap.
Goes to open the door, and
in the middle of his speech, the airlock just bursts open, and
explodes.
Explodes. And starts spinning away.
Yes.
I like the explosion here because it's silent, which it would be.
I love all of the explosions because it just silence. It goes from being, like, sound to nothing because you're back into space.
Yeah. And there's debris everywhere. It looks very, very cool that the thing is, like, spinning out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And they only have one shot at this because they're like, well, fuck. That's our ride to either Edmonds or home. And it's spinning away.
Out of control.
So what do we do? And the only thing they can do is they can try to spin at the same time.
At the same speed.
And dock and lock on at the same time. So this is where we get a docking sequence with this fucking thing spinning, and they've already established how hard it is to dock.
Without spinning.
With just being there, yeah. And earlier, in the film, Case told Cooper that if we just use a little more time for caution, it comes back here because both Case and Cooper are like, yeah, there's no time for caution. We just have to, like, do this.
You can't spend time on caution here.
Yeah, and he tells Case, if I black out, you have to take the stick.
Oh my god, yes.
Because they're going to go on such G's that it's going to be crazy. I love that the robots are both helping. They're both, like, trying to control the speed and stuff on one end. He has to spin the vehicle at the same rate. And he tries taking something, like, this is something so small, too. Like, they're just trying to get this thing to connect, but it's so epic. And I think that's nice.
They could have gotten hit by this giant thing, too, at any moment, and it would have just obliterated them. Because they're so much smaller.
Right. So they end up spinning. It's this big epic sequence. Brand passes out.
Cooper's, like, about to. He looks like he's dying.
Yeah.
I never liked spinny rides. I never liked you.
I like a good spinny
You guys
ride.
would go on spinny rides. Me and Dad would stay off those spinny rides. I never liked a spinny ride. It just made me feel disoriented.
I've always been fine with spinny ride. I don't know if I would now. I haven't been on a spinny ride in a long time, but I always liked spinny rides. I don't know. So are you telling me that
I would take the G's of a roller coaster, any roller coaster, but going on a spinny ride, I hated how it made me feel.
So are you telling me that if we ended up in this situation, I would be the one that would have to pilot the Ranger?
I mean, I don't know if I would
because
pass
you would have
out.
passed out.
I don't know if I would pass out.
I'm sure you would have passed out.
We probably both would have passed out.
That's true.
I just don't like how disoriented I feel.
Between the two of us, I'm the one that's going to have to attempt to do it.
Maybe. Or I'll have to yell if I pass out. Take the helm.
Take the helm. Or one of our robots is going to have to.
Yep.
But they pull it off. It's a phenomenal little sequence here. The score is great.
Oh, it's so good.
In this. And No Time for Caution is one of the tracks that in the score, and that's what this is like that. That whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they celebrate, but they end up in Gargantua's pole.
Of course. So they are laughing and they're like, okay.
Let's pause there. And let's go back to the farmhouse. Okay. So, yes. Big sigh from Rachel.
Well, it's 1 a.m.
So Topher Grace shows up. Yeah, I wanted you to have the authentic experience you did in 2014. So we cut to Topher Grace shows up in this movie as a love interest for Murph.
No,
I think they're just scientist friends.
Scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, they're just scientist friends.
I don't think there's any love interest really.
Yet.
Well.
They show up to the house because I guess Murph is just like, maybe there's something at the farmhouse that I'm missing. I want to go back to the farmhouse.
Well, because they always said that there was some weird pole there, so.
Yeah.
And that they can't get to the black hole because they're not in space, so how are they supposed to get information? Well, let's just start spinning
because she knows her bedroom is an anomaly.
Right.
So
yeah, we know it's that weird gravity
to the anomaly. Yeah, I can find something out with the anomaly. Yeah. So Topher asks about the kid's cough because he's like, it's a bad cough.
Oh yeah, also I think he is the doctor and that was her excuse to go there.
Yeah. This kid's name, by the way, is Coop. Do you find that a bit odd?
No.
Their last name is Cooper. His first name isn't Cooper. His last name is Cooper.
What's his first name?
According to Wikipedia, it's Joseph. But I don't know if we ever hear that. I think we only hear Cooper.
No, his name is Coop.
No, his last name is Cooper. So they named
I thought that
Tom...
was his first name.
No, because it's Murphy Cooper. Because remember, it's all like the stuff at the end is named after her. Not him. Remember? Like it's all named after her.
Because it's Cooper. Oh my god. Okay. I didn't catch that at all.
That means that Casey Affleck, this fucking psycho, named his son Cooper. Wouldn't you name him
his name is
Joe Cooper?
Yeah,
why did you name him Coop?
Why is his name Coop? I don't know. Okay, look, I had to pull up the IMDb.
Okay, it only says it has their last names. It doesn't
there are no last names.
No, there are, because Brand's last name is Brand. It's Amelia Brand.
That's correct. That's fine. I'm not talking about Brand. I'm talking about Cooper's family.
Oh, okay. But it just says Cooper and it says
It
Murph
just says
and Tom.
Murph and Cooper and Tom.
Yep.
I don't see any last names.
But their last name is
Oh, you're
Cooper.
right, because Anne Hathaway does say Brand. I don't know if... Did they ever say her first name? When do they say the first name?
Professor Brand says Amelia a couple of times.
Okay.
And I think Coop might even call her Amelia at some point to, like, make a point.
How weird. Because, like, this doesn't show the names. I thought they named him after Cooper, because his name is Coop, because I've never heard anybody in this entire movie call him Joe. So, that never happens. His name is Coop, but it's Coop Cooper?
Coop Cooper. This little kid's name is Coop Cooper. That's right. Folks at home, don't do that to your kids. Cooper. No wonder this kid's gonna die from whatever's in his lungs.
Oh my god. I can't. That's weird.
Yeah, Casey Affleck has lost his goddamn mind.
It's bad enough when a woman has to marry, if they take the man's last name, and their name is the same as the man's last name.
Julia Gulia, the wedding singer situation.
Well, not Julia Gulia. I'm talking, like, the same name. Like...
Oh, like if,
I can't think of, like, a name right now. Because it's typical, I know it's, like, year 20, whatever. And, like, women don't have to take the last name. Sometimes you want to.
I'm trying to think of a last name that's also a first name, but it's female. Most of the time, it's, like, a man's last name. Like,
no, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen before. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I can't come up with an example. Interstellar. Cooper.
It's only gonna be Matthew McConaughey. I don't think anybody else has ever pointed this out.
Fandom.
That's what you come.
Hold on.
Okay, there's a fandom.
It's a fan. It's a wiki. It's Interstellar's wiki. Yeah.
Oh.
Coop Cooper is a second son of Louise and Tom Cooper, the eldest being Jesse.
So it is. It is Coop Cooper.
It is Coop Cooper.
No wonder then when he says that Louise said no about naming him Coop, it's not because it would be named after Cooper. It's because we're going to name our son Coop Cooper.
What? Just call him Joe. This person's like, was his name just actually Joe, but they call him Coop because it's like the dad?
That's...
And then this one goes, what happened to Coop Cooper? And this one just goes, Coop, Coopity, Coop, Cooper, Cooper. I'm sorry, it was like too good, like the way that worked. Okay.
Whatever happened to Coop Cooper could definitely be like a shitty folk song.
It sounds like a shirt. Whatever happened to Coop Cooper?
That's a shirt. What happened to Coop Cooper?
What happened to Coop Cooper? Exactly. Why would you do that? Okay, now I think his son is stupid. Look, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't stupid, but your son is an idiot, Cooper.
They're in rural Bufu nowhere future U.S. somewhere. Yeah, he finished second in his class because the rest of his class is fucking stupid.
Apparently. Oh my god.
Okay.
I'm disappointed. Alright, anyways, back to the farmhouse. So Cooper is getting teched for Coop, because Croup, or whatever the hell the cough is, I guess for babies, but whatever, because that's what popped into my head.
Cooper has Croup?
Yep.
I don't know if Topher Grace has a name in this movie. I think he's just Topher Grace. Topher Grace is checking on... Is checking...
Names, I can't do it.
He's checking the wife's lungs. He gives like a note,
Getty.
like she's...
Stupid ass names in this movie.
Wait, what's his name?
Getty. G-E-T-T-Y.
Getty?
That has to be his last name because they only show last names. That's gotta be his last name.
Yeah.
Well, like, the other guy's name is Wolf Edmund. It's not Edmund Wolf. It's Wolf Edmund.
Yeah, it's Wolf Edmund.
His last name is Edmund.
And his first name
is
Wolf.
I'm sorry.
It's a great name.
It's a strong name. That is a strong name.
Yeah. Wolf Edmonds. should have been going to his planet first to begin with. His
he's
name
got
is
the coolest
Wolf
name.
Edmonds.
Who goes to Mann? Go to Wolf Edmonds.
So he thinks they're in bad shape. They can't stay at the farm because their lungs are in such bad shape. And they need to, like, be really checked out. So I guess the wife's gonna die. The kid's, like, in wreck, too. And Casey Affleck walks in and he's like, what's going on here? And he gets mad for some reason.
Because he didn't want them to get checked. Because I think he knows they're all gonna die of this lung condition. And it's just like, don't tell them. Let's just all die together. Like,
let's die as a family.
The guy's an idiot. All right,
Yeah,
Coop Cooper.
Right. Yeah.
Coop Cooper, your father's stupid.
Casey Affleck punches Topher Grace as they argue about leaving, because Topher Grace is like, you have responsibility to your family!
Right.
And Casey Affleck just punches him out. Casey and Merv fight about leaving the farm, and she says, maybe you already had one kid die.
Right.
You want another one to die too? And that's where I think, like, oh, so the first kid must have died because of the dust.
Right.
Because of,
that's that would have been my assumption, and then that kind of like tells us, that kid died because of the dust in his lung or her lungs.
And that could have
made,
maybe that made Casey Affleck a bigger jerk too, is like losing the kid and like kind of losing hope and everything. Because like he even is standing in the field at one point with Murph, and he's like, we only got about a third of the crops this year, but like next year I'm going to start doing Nelson's farm or whatever. And they're like, well, what happened to him? And
then he just walks away.
He just walks away.
Is the Nelson family is dead.
Dead, yeah.
And he's just taking over their farm.
They tell Murph to leave. So Murph is like, all right, I guess I'll leave. And she was trying, like, she was up in the bedroom looking around, trying to, figure out something, trying to think. She picks up the watch. She doesn't quite get it. Because the watch is ticking back and forth between the seconds like it's broken. It looks
like it's broken. Yeah. Like it's not working anymore.
Yeah, so it's not really, like, doing anything other than, like, ticking back and forth. So they leave because they got in trouble. But as they're leaving, for the folks that have not watched this movie, it's going back and forth. It's cutting back and forth between
this fight that's happening on
the glacier
planet. Yes.
Yeah. And oh, yeah, you're right. I keep calling it a glacier, but it's another planet.
It's another planet. I mean, it's a glacier planet, so you can call it a glacier. That's fine.
Yeah. But Murph sees these people that have had to abandon their home. They're, like, all leaving this area because it's just gotten too bad.
It's just too much.
Farm. It's gotten too bad to live. Like, they just can't stay here.
So they're trying to find anywhere to go at this point.
And she flips the truck around.
Into the field.
Yes. Yes, she's like cutting through the field of corn. Why does she do that? Does she go right back to the farmhouse? Oh, no, you're right.
Go right back to the farmhouse. She goes into her brother's fields of corn, takes a can of gasoline, and lights that sucker on fire.
Yep. Which apparently doesn't necessarily work. Like the corn would just burn out very quickly, but they needed
work.
to like.
Why wouldn't that work? It's all dry.
Something in. Oh yeah, you're probably right.
I watched that air and the dryness. It's gonna spread quick, so they gotta take care of that.
Something in the behind the scenes, they had to use a propane tank to keep the fire going.
Oh, okay.
Because they were like the corn burns out so quickly that it would just be like a big explosion and then just kind of die.
Sure, I could see that in like where they were, but I think with the conditions of what this is supposed to be, it would burn and then it would spread and it would do all those pops and it would explode and it would continuously just spread.
And she does this because she's trying to lure Casey Affleck away from the house.
Exactly.
So that she has more time to go in the house. She tells Coop and Louise to pack up their stuff and go, or like pack up their stuff and get in the car with Topher Grace. And then she goes back to the bedroom because she's still trying to figure some stuff out.
Right.
Because she, I guess, has convinced herself in her head that her dad didn't abandon her.
Well, I think she's hoping, right, that he didn't know, right? And her whole life's mission, which it has been this entire time, is to solve that equation. And this is the only anomaly that she knows of and that she can get to. So if she can do anything with this anomaly and find some information to solve that equation, that's what she's going to do.
Yep. So she goes back up there and she's looking at the watch. Let's go back into space. Because I think that pretty much covers everything that happens at the farmhouse in between what we kind of skipped. So they are trying to fix up the place. They're trying to make sure
Well,
that
yeah,
all,
because
like,
there was just an explosion, so this whole
Right.
station could have just went down.
could
like-
just go, yeah. So, like, they do it. They are able to,
yeah.
like, secure it and everything. I have no idea how long that took, but they were able to secure it. But the gravity is messing with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all fucked up because they're so close to the black hole, and they end up near the black hole, and stuff starts to kind of warp on them again. And they make a very sci-fi plan where they're going to sling around the horizon point
Yep.
so that they can make it to Edmund's planet.
Because they
'Cause it'll
can't. They don't
kinda-
have enough to get home.
They don't have enough fuel to get home, but this will, like, slingshot them to Edmund's planet, and they'll kind of make it there.
Yeah.
And I guess they're going to do plan B. Like, I don't know.
I think
what
that's all they have now.
Yeah. And they're just going to try to, like, fertilize, or not fertilize the eggs, but they're going to try to, like, incubate the eggs while they're there, I guess, if it works.
I
'Cause
guess
that's all
so.
they've got.
But the problem, so here's my thought, right? So they have, let's talk about Plan B for a second. Now that there's
Okay.
only one female.
No, I think that they're planning to do ex vitro. Like, they said they were going to do 10 while they
So
were
they're
on
just going
board,
to
but
have full tube babies and then wait until they're ready and then take them completely out of the tube once they, like, are ready to be birthed.
maybe.
I know they were talking about surrogacy as
Yeah.
well. So I guess, like, the first babies are going to have to just be from tubes. I don't know.
Yes.
And then eventually
Or she's going to have to get squat.
carry all of them. Like,
Yeah.
it's just... So, like, they needed the people from Earth anyways to come for Plan B.
They needed something.
They needed uteruses or something, because, like...
I think their plan was they were going to take another shuttle.
Yeah.
So, like, that other shuttle that's at NASA is what they're
Oh,
going to take.
I guess, yeah.
So they're just going to go to Edmund's planet, I guess, and chill.
And wait for them to come.
Send signals while that
Oh,
that
so now
second
they're just
shuttle
gonna
comes.
start going beep 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 and
Yeah.
send pings. Okay. It felt weird because it was like, okay, well, are these babies just gonna, like, do the full, gestation in a tube, or
Mm-hmm.
how is that gonna work? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking way too into it. Whatever. Moving on.
This is shelf life.
I wish I had chocolate. I want chocolate.
I need something. So, they're going to use the small ships to boost them around this thing. Tars is going to detach, and he's going to get sucked into the black hole. And Brandt's like, you can't ask Tars to do that for us. The running joke here is that they both like, I'm a robot. I have to do whatever you tell me. And Tars is like, it's an honor. Like,
Well, I think the other thing too is that it's hard. It's very easy for humans to create empathy for everything.
right. I guess it goes back to the beginning where we talked about Murph being
Empathetic to a
empathetic.
plane.
Yeah, so now
Yes.
now you see Brand being empathetic to Tars, which is more intelligent
and
everything.
speaks and like
Yeah.
it's so you
Has
actually
emotion.
have that.
Yeah, and converses with them and feels for them and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
The shots of the black hole are really crazy. Seeing everything all fold is very cool.
Oh my god, yes.
They estimate that being able to slingshot around the black hole or whatever, the gravity, it's going to cost them 51 years.
Yeah.
So they think 51 years is going to pass by doing this, but they don't really have any other choice.
Sure.
So Tars and the Ranger fall in, and then I was trying to figure out why he does this. Cooper detaches himself to fly into the black hole, leaving Bran by herself.
I think he's also pushing her further, so he's trying to get her to go faster.
So
Because
he thinks like, I'm
think
dead
his-
weight.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
he's like, well, she needs more push or it's not going to work.
Okay.
So I got to also push her as well.
Okay. That's fine. Because I was like, it's kind of a shitty thing to just kind of like leave her there. Because you don't know what's going to happen in this black hole. You're sending Tars because you think he could be dead coming out the other end. But I guess his point is like, I'm losing 51 years. I've already lost my kids.
Yes.
Like, I don't have a reason to live anyway. So whatever happens, happens.
And you know what?
Murphy's
Why
Law.
not? Yeah. Right. Yes. Whatever bad could happen, it's going to happen. And I think he's also like, you know what? For my last trip, let's go to a black hole. I want to see what's in there.
Now, I have a feeling in reality this would just crush him. The pure weight and force of the gravity would just crush him.
Probably.
Which, again, would be the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. But we get to go nuts, because why not? No one knows what goes on in there. We can do this at the end of the movie. It's fine. Cooper detaches from the ship because it's going haywire and out of control as it gets sucked into the black hole, and he flies into nothingness. I'm pretty certain he'd be dead at this point, but we don't know what happens in a black hole, so it's fine. And he ends up flying into a tesseract that was built into the black hole.
Right. Also, by the way, there weren't enough resources for the both of them, and he lied and said there were. And so he's like, "You go on. You have enough resources to live. I'm gonna just."
Because that's what they were doing as they walked around the Endurance. They were counting how much stuff is still left. Okay.
Right, and because they agreed on the 90% being truthful, he was doing the 10%.
Yep.
So yes, no. So now he gets to it, the Tesseract. Which, I mean, yeah, he was the whole ship was being crushed. Everything was being crushed that entire time.
Oh yeah. I mean, she had to break away.
He did have to break away, which I don't know. Like, would that have worked? I have no idea. This is a black hole, like you said. We can play, so we're in a Tesseract.
Play now. Yeah, we're playing now. I like the design of the Tesseract, the ribbon look of this library. A Tesseract was on people's minds probably in 2014. The Avengers had the Tesseract in it. So did Captain America and all that stuff. So Tesseract being just like a time cube, right? Like, that's kind of what a Tesseract is. They built this. They physically built this.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Christopher Nolan and crew built a Tesseract thing. So they built a cube structure.
Yeah.
Because they had to figure out what this would look like how this would look to the human eye. So they built a little model, and they put a bunch of mirrors in it because they were trying to figure it out. So then they built a big thing where Matthew McConaughey would be on a wire, and he would float from space to space. And of course it's magnified by CGI.
Of course.
But there were truly ribbons with light going through it, and some bookshelves.
Right.
And that it was set up that way.
That's pretty cool.
So we realize this is Murph's room, and he shouts for her from the other side of this bookshelf to get her attention, but he can't.
Pounding on it.
He is just trapped in this Tesseract. He's unsure what to do, so he just starts floating around to different time periods because he sort of understands what's going on. He's stuck in a space, but he's not stuck in time.
Right. So when he's pounding on the bookshelf, and when the stuff falls off of it and she notices, he's actually making stuff happen at specific points in time, but he's not anywhere in time himself.
Did everybody get that? So he ends up using Morse code to say stay, which is from earlier.
Right.
And he thinks the mission was a failure. So I get why he's saying that, because he's like, there's no reason to go. You're not going to ever see your kids again. You didn't save the world, so just stay.
So he's trying to change time. You can't do that.
Right. But I think it's because he's emotional and he doesn't...
of course. So of course he's going to try to do something to, save himself.
Isn't that the circular paradox thing where he's causing stuff to happen? Yeah.
Yes. So you can't change the past, but you're going to just be a part of it at that point. And we know Tars is alive now, because he has to watch himself leave. Yes.
And that's heartbreaking for him. And he kind of almost gives up. He just kind of hangs there for a second, and then we hear Tars's voice.
Yes.
So we realize that Tars is somewhere in the black hole,
him.
But they can communicate through the mic still.
Right. I think he's also in the Tesseract.
Yeah,
he says,
maybe he's just somewhere in the Tesseract.
He recognizes it or something, and he's talking about it too.
Cooper is I don't get it, and Tars is yeah, you do. They made a 3D space in a 5D reality to help you understand what it is. And so time is a physical dimension. He can make a message across space, and then Tars has the quantum data from the black hole, but he can't get it out.
Right.
So he's well, maybe I can send the data to Murph. And Murph is looking at the clock. She's realizing, I think, at this point that the ghost is Cooper.
Yes, because it's messages that he would have taught her or sent.
Yeah.
And he recognized as well.
But they didn't bring us here to change the past, Tars. that brought us here. We brought us here.
We brought ourselves here. The they is us.
Spinning around up in the atmosphere, coming down, doing all sorts of crazy twists and twirls, back of the vans,
What are you
reading
doing?
the books.
What are you doing?
So Cooper is like, I need the coordinates for NASA and binary, and sets up the stuff. Cooper explains what's going on for the audience, is kind of what happens.
Right.
Love, Tars.
Yes.
It's
Well,
love.
because Tars is asking, how do you know when to send? Because you're seeing your daughter right now as a child. She's not going to understand anything you're sending her.
Right. But
And so
eventually
he's
he's like, no,
feeling
he'll
for
come
it.
back. She's gonna come back. I'm not worried about that at all. She's gonna come back because I gave her the watch. Like he's like, I'm gonna send this into the watch.
Right.
All the quantum data I'm gonna send into the watch because love is quantifiable, and I'll find out how to tell it. Love, Murph. It was my love, Murph. My love.
Don't you get it yet, Tars? I brought myself here. They didn't choose me, they chose her.
For what, Cooper?
To save the world. All of this is one little girl's bedroom. Every moment. It's infinitely complex. They have access to infinite time and space, but they're not bound by anything. They can't find a specific place in time. They can't communicate. That's why I'm here. I'm gonna find a way to tell Murph, just like I found this moment.
How, Cooper?
Love, Tars, love. It's just like Brand said. My connection with Murph, it is quantifiable. It's the key.
What are we here to do?
Find how I tell her. The watch.
Murph. Tars.
I love you, Tars. Like, I feel like that had to have happened at some point because he's going nuts.
Well, he says that because he gave it to her, she'll come back to get it. Topher
Right.
Grace is, like, shouting to Murph because he's like...
The brother's coming
They're
back.
coming back! And he gets a tire iron out because I guess he's going to fend him off with it. I mean, I guess he got punched already.
He got punched
so
in
why
the
not?
face already.
She figures out that he's sending a message through the watch. And she hugs a very confused Casey Affleck, saying, Dad's going to save us, and starts working on the quantum data. Which has to confuse Casey Affleck, too, because she just got done saying Dad abandoned us. He was never coming back. And now she's like, he saved us.
He saved us. He did come back. He came back. And it's like, okay, all right. Do you need us to call someone? Like...
So she goes to work on the quantum data. Who knows how long that takes.
Right.
But she figures it out. She runs out. She screams Eureka. Kisses Topher Grace.
Which I think wasn't more of a less of a love interest thing and more of just a
She
Eureka
multiplies,
moment.
Rachel. She multiplies. I am guessing it's with
All right,
Topher
that's
Grace.
fine too. We don't know who. She could have had multiple partners. We don't know.
Topher Grace isn't there. We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. She just kissed him because he was there and she was excited.
Because why not?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible that all of her grandkids are Tophers. It's very true.
Yeah. She figured out the rest of the equation. Tars thinks it must have worked because the Tesseract starts to close on itself.
it's like
which
it
is a cool
starts
little effect,
moving.
too. So, I don't know. I guess they like close it because they're like, yep, work's done.
Good. Okay. We're good.
So, what happened here is that human beings,
At some
thousands of
point-
years in the future, assumedly, because they've evolved to understand the fifth dimension,
Right.
sent Cooper into a Tesseract
Right.
to tell Murph what the quantum data of a black hole is to solve the equation for gravity.
Yes.
And because they didn't disappear at the moment they knew Cooper was able to get into the Tesseract, because time is relative and on a ever-flowing river,
Yes.
they knew it worked because they didn't disappear. So they closed the Tesseract.
I think so. I
How
don't
did
think
they
they would
have
have just disappeared though either.
How did they get the Tesseract
Wibbly
into the black
wobbly.
hole?
What do you mean?
Like, how did they make a Tesseract?
I don't, Kevin. They know how to manipulate gravity, so of course they know how to manipulate a black hole.
But they were able to move space-time in the black hole to get to Murph's bedroom?
Yes. I don't don't know. You're asking me like quantum physics
I was about to just
questions.
go, okay, and then move on, and then just go. So anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything works.
Yes. And if you can't explain it, a wizard did it.
Yes. Actually, that would probably explain everything. They all are wizards in the future.
But, I mean, apparently this is fairly sound science, theoretically. So, there you got that going for you. Okay.
The
we
love is very theoretical.
Love is theoretical. Like a love of a man.
It is quantifiable.
Like
that sounds like I feel like we're starting a song.
Love is quantifiable. Like a love man for a nice Lincoln Continental car. Or a fine Cuban cigar. Or beer on a porch on a Saturday night. So, we get a trippy image of Cooper flying through space-time, interacting with Bran.
With the handshake.
That was the handshake that she talked about earlier.
It wasn't anything else sketchy. It was a handshake.
Yep. Literally a handshake. Then he's just floating in space unconscious. I assume near Saturn, because, like, that's where they, like, dumped him at the... They shot him back through the wormhole, I think, is the idea.
Oh, okay.
Which is why, like, he saw them going through the wormhole.
Right.
And then
you do kind of see Saturn around him, because there's a planet with rings and lights in the path, like the...
I like the way that they do what they do with the score, too, because they, like, have it, like, kind of fade out, and there's, like, this just, like, one note of, like... Because, like, the grandness has ended. Like, the opera has, like, you know, concluded here with him being done.
Right. He did his part.
He wakes up in bed in a hospital, and they tell him that he's 124 years old. He stands up, he goes to the window, he sees the curved walls, so the gravity thing worked, the centrifuge has worked. There's kids playing baseball, which comes back, you know, again, like baseball survived.
I didn't even think about the baseball coming back thing. That's true.
And kids are playing it, so now kids kind of know about baseball and all that kind of stuff. Cooper Station is orbiting Saturn, and he's like, "Oh, you named a station after me? That's all nice of you. I appreciate that." They're like, "It's not named after you. It's named after your daughter."
Right.
So years have passed, decades have passed.
Right.
We've talked about this a little bit. They had
124, so
like 70
know.
years.
If he's 30...
Like they estimated 50 years, but it like 60, 70 years have passed, right?
Well, yeah, because they already did 23, so then add another.
So you'd have been 50 something. So yeah, another like 70.
So another 50. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's almost 100 years.
So like we said before, they had to figure out the equation, which she did.
Right.
They had to harness the equation to build these space orbiter things, multiple. And they need to be able to get all of this resource and stuff into these gigantic city size, at least.
Oh, I think they're going to be more than, I think, state
space things.
Yeah, they got to be.
Yeah, so it would have taken 70 years to do that, I'm assuming. All right, so they do that. Let's assume they do that.
Yeah.
The politics and the craziness that would go on in this, you'd be talking about conspiracy theory. Folks at home and folks listening to this in the future, as you travel to Saturn, we just went through a period of time where miraculously, scientists were able to develop a vaccine to stop a global pandemic. And no one could agree
on
to take the fucking thing.
On any of it.
And that pandemic was only going to wipe out 1% of the population globally if we just let it go.
Right.
This would have been
destroyed the Earth.
Annihilation event.
Yes.
So I think this would have been some sort of fascistic nightmare. And maybe it still was.
I mean, they all were, remember, it was all being done in the background too, though. It was all being done quietly in the background.
So you think all of this was being done quietly in the background? I
think most of it was. I bet most of it was.
So I still think there might have been like a dictator or something, and then they got all of it done. It's all in space, and they're like, by the way, we're all going to Saturn. Or we're all going to space.
Right.
And they unveiled all of the city-sized, at least, space stations.
Right.
Like China has several, India has several, the US has a bunch. They're all talking on the phone with each other, or there's a dictator of Earth, and they're all like, yep, we've got them. Get
Cool.
ready for it. There's 300 of these. We have to kill like 35% of the population, though, if we're all going to fit. Okay, great. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yep.
Or we solved gravity, and we've solved the curve and everything. So timing-wise, we're going to put people to sleep. There's a lot to this. There's a
lot to this. I think they were mostly putting everybody to sleep.
Yes, and I've gone cross-eyed just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Murph said put him back at his house, which has been a museum that's on the Cooper space station, to kind of talk about Murph Cooper's life, really.
Yes.
But it's talking about and commemorating the ending of his Earth. She told him that he loves farming, so he'll fit right back being there and all this kind of stuff. Really would love if people gave a shit about science like this. And maybe something like this would allow people to give a shit about science and travel to the stars. And I think that's the whole point of this movie, is to try to get people interested in, could this be possible? Could we bend space-time? Could we bend gravity? All of this stuff.
And thought of being, of not even just the science part, but even like the philosophy part of it, even too. It's trying to pull out of it, where get out of your little bubble. There's so much more.
Right.
And there's so many more people, and there's so much more to everything than just your little things that are happening around you.
Yeah. He's basically a man out of time. He's kind of Captain America at this point, because he's an aberration. He doesn't belong here. He doesn't. Although, John Lithgow said like you were born too early or too late, and so now now he's in a time where maybe now he can explore. Yeah. So they found TARS, but his power source was shot, and he's like, yes, you have to turn him back on. He basically saved humanity. Had saved his life.
Right.
So he's tinkering with TARS. He turns them back on. He turns honesty at 95%.
I love it. Yeah.
And he turns his humor on at 75%.
Well, higher, and then he drops it.
Yes. Because TARS tells a bad joke. Yeah.
The bad joke. I like the bad joke. You gotta tell the bad joke.
I don't remember it. I don't have it written down.
He says auto self-destruct. And then he goes 10, 9, and he goes 75%. Or 60% or whatever.
Yeah, and then he goes like knock knock, and he goes, do you want to shoot for 55? Yeah. TARS and Cooper live on the farm for a few days while they're waiting for Murph to get to the space station. Mm-hmm. The juxtaposition is good because there's no dust anywhere. So Cooper sits back like against the house like he did, and he was like, because TARS is like, was it really like this? And
Cooper's he
like
touches everything too.
Yeah. And Cooper's like, well, it's a lot cleaner than he remembers, but yeah, there's not enough dust. And he says he doesn't care much for this. He knows where they were. He doesn't want to pretend like they're in the same place. He wants to know where they're going. He wants to see the future.
Right.
Cooper comes in. He sees Murph. She's an old dying woman now.
And they share a big family.
Yeah, a bunch of family members and descendants and stuff like that. Which would be bizarre, because, like, now you're seeing, like, your great-great-grandfather walking in.
Right.
They have a moment, very well done. Ellen Burstyn playing the old Murph here, and Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, I'm telling you, Matthew McConaughey is really, really good in this movie. He kind of carries it a bit. But yeah, Ellen Burstyn doing a good job here as well. And they share this moment of, like, knowing that they were going to reunite. She kept the watch. She's wearing the watch.
I do think it's funny because he tells her, I was your ghost. And she goes, well, yeah, I know.
Yeah. He's
I think that's the only reason we're all here.
It was our love, Murph. It was our love. I was your ghost, Murph. I was your ghost. Like, yeah, no shit. I like the part where he's like, you told them I loved farming. Like, he does, like they do like a little, joke with each other.
Yeah, it's cute.
You told him I like farming. It was me, Murph. I was your ghost.
I know. People didn't believe me. They thought that I was doing it all myself. But I knew who it was. nobody believed me. But I knew you'd come back.
How?
Because my dad promised me.
She says, you have to go. And he's like, I'm not going to leave you. And she's like, well, I've got my family. I've got all my loved ones.
And she says no parent should see their child die.
Yeah. She's expecting to die pretty soon. Again, another, like, having to deal with, like, people getting older and time and death and stuff like that. He's like, what do you want me to do? And she's like, you got to go find Brand. She made it to some planet. She found our new home.
Alone.
She's on Edmonds, and she's alone, which I don't know if she is. She's got Wolf. Wouldn't Wolf be there? Theoretically?
Sure, but she's still alone. She doesn't know what's happening.
Right. We don't know how much time has passed. Yeah.
Right.
Right. She might. So that's my question. Has she been there for a day, a year, 10 years, the 50 years?
Depending on relativity.
Oh, maybe she is alone.
She might have only been there for like only a little bit of time.
Because Wolf, if he's on the same timeline as Earth, he would be like 90 years old.
Why do you think he's on the same timeline?
Because if his planet doesn't have the same, if his planet has the same relativity as Earth,
because of the gravity.
Yeah, and
she's still, black hole.
And she would have gone into the future too, just like Cooper, going around the black hole event horizon.
Exactly.
Like they both said that. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe she is alone.
So I think, I mean, well, we see that because it goes.
We do. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yes, it does. Yes, we do.
The music swells. I do like this ending bit, and it ends very Dark Knight, Inception-y, where there's a narration and the music swelling to get you to the conclusion of the epic grandeur that is the Christopher Nolan movie. Murph is like she's setting up camp somewhere. So Cooper, for some reason, steals a ship with TARS. Why can't he just be like, I know where this planet is. I want to go make sure that we're set up and I'll come back.
I mean,
couldn't he go
how much time would they have made him wait? And why would they let him do that?
Well, I guess if you know who this man is and you know that he came back. I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of red tape there.
Possibly. I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know. I feel like if you kind of said, like, look, I'm going to Edmund's planet. That's the planet that we're going to. Have there been pings? I guess there have been, because Murph is like, she's at that planet. We know she's at that planet. She's pinged. That's why we're going there. Then either wait to go there, or I guess, I don't know. It seems weird.
How long is she going to have to wait, though, too, for somebody to get there? So... I guess I would assume these big ones are going to be a lot slower than the small ships.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit like a very cinematic ending.
It's definitely probably
he's going out to do the exploration with Tarzan himself, like as the grand explorers and pioneers, versus what would make just wait. Just you're going there already, but whatever. So you see Anne Hathaway on the planet. It looks like a moderate deserty look to it.
Yeah, I mean, at least this part of it looks kind of deserty.
But she does look kind of like forlorn, because I think she is just waiting to see what happens.
Well, she's not just waiting. So there's also Case is digging out the station that Edmund is supposed to be in.
Oh, okay.
So
is that
like
what he's doing?
Digging it out. Yes,
okay.
Because it's completely like in the ground. There's only like part of it showing, so he's like digging it out. At least that's what it looks like.
Okay.
And then after that, there's a rock pile, and she has his tag.
Oh, okay. So she's
making him. Like a grave.
Okay. So maybe they did get to reunite, but he was like an old man or something like that.
I don't think he was alive.
All right. I mean, that's possible too.
I don't know. He maybe you for some reason think he aged. He would have gone into a stasis.
Yes, he should have gone into stasis.
I think the ping stopped because he died.
Okay. That's
he
fair.
Pinged, said like, this is great. The planet works, cool. I don't know why he died, but he died.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll buy that too. I could buy that.
Because I don't know how much time passed on this planet either.
Right. Well, but that's why I'm saying I thought maybe he got old because of the way. But see,
I just find that weird. Like he would have just lived out his life then. Like
I didn't think about him going into stasis. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Because, I mean, they made that a thing in the show, so it's like, that's the only reason.
Yeah, I guess it's open to interpretation on what happened there, but I didn't realize that she had the tag in hand either.
Oh, yeah, she puts his tag down on the makeshift grave.
And turns around, and there's like a little camp there, which almost implies that there's more people, but there's not. Yeah, she takes her helmet off.
So maybe he set up the camp, and then something happened and died.
Yeah. So, like, she takes her helmet off so they can easily breathe there and all sorts of stuff, yeah. And she has to feel both superior in the fact that she was right and pissed that they wasted their time on Miller's planet, for sure.
Right.
So I guess
and sad.
Both of them were
dead.
wrong. Yeah. So both of them screwed up in the end.
Both of them screwed up because they went to Miller.
Yeah.
Go straight to Edmund. God damn it.
Yeah. But that is the end of Interstellar. So it ends with the idea that Cooper is going to find Edmund's planet and tell Brand that it worked and they're on their way and everything is gravy.
And humanity is saved.
Humanity is saved. That was pretty long. So, Rachel, we have thoroughly gone through a 2-hour and 49-minute extravaganza space opera epic, Interstellar, by Christopher Nolan. We have dissected it. We have discussed all of the scientific points of it in terrible detail, probably incorrectly in most parts. But this is the time of our program where we say whether or not Interstellar has shelf life. So, Rachel, does Interstellar have shelf life?
So, for me, I like all of the visuals. I like the music. I feel like you can get kind of like caught up into it because of both of those aspects. I like that the science is kind of understandable. Like if you don't just sit there and like discuss it constantly, maybe we don't like talk ourselves into a circle. But
sure.
The science is understandable enough that it makes sense, and I like the fact that it also is very close to, or is, whatever theoretical physics truly is in real life, right? So I like that all of those parallels and everything. And I find it interesting on a level that it's all possible.
Mm-hmm. Theoretically.
This is still theoretically possible that the planet could get to this point, our planet get to this point, that it's theoretically possible that we might have to leave and find something different, right? Mm-hmm. So I find that incredibly interesting as well, and like the dynamics of the different people. I know that we didn't get a lot of different people to talk to, mostly scientists and their perspectives, but you kind of get some of that through them and the every man in like the teacher and everything too. So for me, Interstellar is on the shelf.
Okay. Rachel's conclusion is Interstellar has shelf life. Okay.
Yes.
So I will say it is a very good movie. It's very, very well made. It's a little clunky here and there with some of the dialogue or some of the themes it's trying to do. The love, Murph, all love.
The love is corny, but I feel like it works. Like it's like a lot of different movies and a lot of different stories and how they like to say it's love. It's like that.
Yeah, love conquers all. It's just
I think it's a little bigger than just love, though. That's my point with this one.
Well, I think that's what he was saying it was. I think it really was.
It's that empathy, that connection between humanity and like the way we want to be saved and be together.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it really wasn't really love. It's more like she trusted her. I guess it's love. I don't know. Regardless, okay, it's a little clunky. But it is very, very well made. The score is amazing. I think the acting by McConaughey is very good. The acting by the others are good too. It's well emotion. The effects are great. It isn't one I would rewatch a lot.
Not a lot.
But
it was fun coming back to it again.
It is long. It is a lot to take in. But when it is on, it is fully engrossing. Like you and I both said at the beginning, we hadn't seen it in a long time, but we still remembered everything.
Yes.
So
that was the weird part.
It sticks with you. The score especially sticks with you. I've been doing that and all of that like for the days since I watched it. It is kind of a movie that hangs with you and makes you think and feels clever and is scientific and is all of that kind of stuff. I think a lot of it hangs on the visuals, a lot of it hangs on the score, a lot of it is that audio visual experience, but that is the whole point.
Sure.
I think I've said it a million times now where it's like, I think that we should be doing both of these things. I think that this movie is trying to encourage people to kind of think about what all this means and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I own the Blu-ray, but I'm not going to let that sway me one way or another. However, yes, Interstellar has shelf life. It is on the shelf.
Did he trick you? Did you think he was going to say no?
Well, because there's always a chance when it's something like this.
There's always
I know
a chance,
I'm not going to rewatch it a ton, but it's definitely it's good enough, and it's definitely rewatchable enough to be on the shelf. It's not in the box where it's like, maybe I'll pull this out. No, it's on the shelf. It's there.
It's on the shelf.
You're proud to have it.
It's visually appealing. The sound is great.
Yeah.
The story is interesting, and it's something that you can come back to again, and it's still kind of like fun and exciting.
Mm-hmm. Anything else before I close this out?
Unless you're just gonna start talking that poem, in which
case.
That's
right. I should probably say, don't go gentle into that good night. Breathe against the dying of light. Humanity needs to breathe against the dying of light by listening to Shelf Life. Every single time a volume comes out, it's another 10 to 12 weeks of humanity being thrown into your face. You silly cow.
Gotta throw that in there every time.
No, so yes, I think it has shelf life. I think it is very, very good. I really do enjoy it. I think it's got enough crowd pleasing stuff in it. It is technically great. So, and it has enough big ideas that I really like, and different ideas that I really like, and still is grounded to the people. So yeah.
This is probably, and I don't know if this is like a spoiler, you can always like pull it out, but I feel like this is probably one of the only slow burn sci-fi movies that you will put on the shelf. If we do any of the other ones, you're not going to put them on the shelf.
I'm not a big...
You might not even put them in the box, because you're not a big sci-fi fan.
I think this is way more crowd-pleasing than the slow burn sci-fis. Yes, I agree. I want something with a little more action, fast-paced, and that's what this is for sure. The slow burn sci-fis, I hit myself on the table trying to
oh my God,
come the fuck on,
you get
confused
let's move. Sometimes
come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
And we'll do that with other Christopher Nolan movies too, because we do not agree about all of the Christopher Nolan movies.
We don't.
For sure. But yes, the first Christopher Nolan movie is in the book. That was Interstellar from 2014, directed by Christopher Nolan. Cross it off the list. It is on the shelf. We will continue with Volume 3 here at Shelf Life. Until then, and until next time, I have been Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Shelf Life. See you next time. In space!
Humor. 75%.
Confirmed. Auto self-destruct T-minus 10, 9.
Let's make that 60%.